Time is 5:30. We'll call this regular city council meeting, take the city council meeting to order. We'll have the invocation by Councilman Carrasco and pledge of allegiance by myself. So please stand.
Almighty God, we come before you today with gratitude for the opportunity to serve our community as we gather to discuss, plan, and make decisions. We ask for your wisdom to guide our thoughts and your peace to fill our hearts. Grant each council member discernment to seek what is right and just, compassion to hear every voice, and courage to do what is best for all. Help us work together with respect, integrity, and a shared purpose so that our city may flourish in unity and prosperity. Bless this meeting, bless our leaders and citizens, and help us remember that true service is found in humility and care for one another. I pray in your mighty name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now I remind everyone, if you have a cell phone, please mute them or turn them off, please. We'll go on to public comments. Any public comments? If you do, you'll have 3 minutes. Please present yourself. State your name for the record.
My name is Maria Olga Flores. I am a lifelong citizen of Pecos, and I'm here once again to complain about our local bar here across the street. They're our neighborhood bar, and they have done a wonderful job of being quiet 2 days out of the 3 days of the weekend, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. 2 days, they'll be tolerable, you can sleep. 1 day out of those 3 days will be back to how it was before. And the decibels have helped, the lowering of the decibels have helped, but there's a loophole in there that you can't control the bass, is what I'm being told. But the bass is booming, it resonates, you can feel it. Even if it's not loud for volume, it's very deep. You can feel it, you can hear it. So I'm just asking, we've been here through this over and over again. I've asked maybe for the quiet time, 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. in the morning, those Thursday, Friday, Saturdays, whatever the weekend is. And I'm wondering, why can't they just lower the volume on the bass? They've lowered everything else, everything is tolerable, everything stays inside their building except the bass. And that can be tolerable too, but not all the time. Sometimes they pick it up. And I called the police, they've told me over and over, they're within their rights, the decibels. But that still does not, it doesn't solve the problem of that booming, disturbing. It won't let you sleep. Sometimes I'm asleep and it wakes me up. That, that's not a good neighbor. That's not working in good faith, and I don't know what else to do. I've gone to talk to them. You've lowered the decibels, and that's still a problem. That 1 day, mostly 1 day out of the week, and it's usually Saturday nights. I don't know what else we can do other than coming over here and complaining once more, and just knowing that, all we want is 7 nights of sleep. We all value our sleep, our good health. What would we not do for a good night's rest 7 nights a week if it's within our means, within the means of this council? Thank you. And also I want to thank you all for going in with the county for the city, for the swimming pool. It's a long time coming. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other comments? I might remind everybody that we can hear your comments, your public comments, but we cannot enter into a dialogue with you guys. Okay? Thank you.
Good evening, Council. My name is Tony Trujillo, and I'm here tonight representing the Pecos Little League as its president. First, I would like to thank Aaron for the opportunity to speak and for everything the city does for the community. Like all of you, we deeply care about the youth of this town and the opportunities we can provide for them. Pecos Little League is a nonprofit organization that operates through volunteers. from our coaches to our board members to the parents that help with the concession stands. These are people that donate their time simply because they want to see kids in Pecos succeed. This season alone, we have 370 players registered for baseball and softball programs. That represents hundreds of families in this community who rely on our league to give children a positive outlet, a safe environment, and a chance to learn teamwork, discipline, and sportsmanship. Running the league this size with this many comes with many expenses and costs for operation. We also, we provide uniforms, equipment, game baseball, softballs, catcher's gear, umpire gear, and other necessities required to run a safe organization this season. These are real costs that our league absorbs every year, and in order to keep registration affordable for our families. This year, we also worked hard to provide an early bird discount so that more children in our community could participate, knowing that many families are dealing with rising costs. In addition, this season, we are proud to be starting something very special for Pecos, our first ever Challenger League. This program is designated for children with special needs. It gives them a safe place to play sports, be part of a team, and feel welcome and accepted while building positive social interactions. Starting this program also requires us to pay additional charter fees that comes and other costs. But we believe it is an important step for inclusion in our community. Recently, we were informed about a proposed $10,000 rental fee for the Cyclone fields. I want to respectfully express our concern regarding this. The reality is Cyclone Fields is the only playable fields in Pecos capable of hosting our league, aside from Channel Prieto Field. With the number of teams we have and the timing of this announcement, we simply do not have any other option in town that could accommodate our season. This places Pecos Little League in a very difficult position. With the cost of uniforms, equipment, charters, and operating the league of hundreds of kids already in place, a $10,000 rental fee would create significant burden to our organization and ultimately on the families of Pecos. For that reason, I respectfully asking the council to waive the rental fee for the Pecos Little League for this season. This would give our organization time to continue serving the youth of this community while allowing us to work together with the city for a long-term solution moving forward. Our league is not only about baseball and softball, it is getting kids a place to belong, building character, strengthening our community for the next generations. Thank you for your time and your continued support, guys. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Hello, my name is Carlos Lara. I live at 1322 West Veterans, and I'm here to complain about that street from Missouri to Nebraska. I have complained to the mayor, the manager, different people, and nothing is done. They done that water line, great, something that needs to be done, but nothing was ever cleaned. That caliche dirt has taken over the complete neighborhood there in front of my house. Every day I clean my front porch, my deck, my screen windows with my blower. It's nothing but dust. My house inside, dusty. Just fine powder dust. Nothing is done to it. And I have talked to the mayor, the manager, Griffin, Baca, and nothing is done. We'll take care of it. We'll clean it up. That caliche has encrusted the whole street. And if y'all get time, swing by there and look at it. There's up to 3-4 inches of crusted mud all over. It's caliche. We rained, mud all over my driveway. Cars go by there, slushing mud. It dried, more dust. It snowed and what have you, more mud. It dried up and it had a little rain the other day, more mud. Nothing is clean. And all I'm told is we'll take care of it. And nothing is done. Nothing. And now that trench is just full of potholes. Just full of potholes. Even I've seen city workers go through there, just potholes. And nothing is done. All they had to do was cover it up, clean up the excess, and the city done that with that big sewer pump they do with that mud. Gushing mud all over the place. The first day they blocked my driveway. There was 3 feet, about 2.5 feet of mud from one side of my driveway. They covered me up. We had to park in the back. They didn't clean it up. The following day, the city went and moved that mud out of the way. It's a non-ending, miserable, dusty in the city. Nobody followed up, and somebody, Lino told me that it was Deerwood. Don't point fingers. It's the city obligation to follow up anything that's done within the city. Nobody supervises. I'll have Baca call you. Baca ain't gonna call me. I'll guarantee it. Always mention Baca, Baca, Baca. Nothing is done. And it's just non-ending. And it needs to be clean. And I remember the ladies across the street dropping off their kids, walking and tiptoeing in mud. Nasty mud. And that mud is still there about 3.5 months later. It's
Okay,
still
Mr.
there.
A lot of your time's up. The 3 minutes are up, sir. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments?
My name's Larry Longoria, council, city manager Lino. I'd like to thank y'all for the option y'all gave us about opting out of the annexation. My only question is, and I spoke to a few of them, how long is that for? Is it permanent or till, like as we spoke, maybe till, the, you know, if it does come again, will it be on a vote? That's my question for all of y'all. Thank you.
Any other comments? Yes, sir.
My name is Jorge Munoz. I live right next to Larry, and I want to say thank you guys for consider that we don't want to be part of the city. And thank you guys.
Anyone else? All right, at this time, we'll close the public comment section.
I had a question, Councilman. Charles, do we have a implementing system, like a post-meeting follow-up system on public comments? Whenever somebody like Mr. Lara comes in and addresses a problem, do we have a post-meeting follow-up system?
We notate it. Wendy has it in the minutes. I have it in the minutes. And we do follow up on the majority of them, yes, sir. If it's just a comment, we do not follow up on that. But if it's an issue, then 99% of the time we follow up on it, yes, sir.
It would be an issue. I mean, you know, it takes a lot for a person to come up here and speak. You know, I've been there 12 years ago. Yeah, to come up and speak here at the podium and address an issue would be something that we should make a record of it in the future so we could follow up with them. So,
Yes, sir.
that's it.
You good?
Yes, sir.
All right. We'll now go to item E, consent agenda. Please approve in the minutes of February the 26th, 2026 regular city council meeting. Review the expenditure report. B3, approve resolution 26-03-01R, resolution of the town of Pecos City Council ratifying the submission of a grant application to the Texas Office of the Governor Public Safety Office for the Celebrite Premier Forensic Systems Upgrade, grant number 5912701. I'll have time to review it and make a motion when done.
Charles, on the expenditures on page 4, there's a vendor there, but there's no amount. I don't know if there's a mistake there or just in it recorded.
Which one is it, Randy?
There's just 3 or 4 vendors, and it's one that has 0 balance.
Well, there's not. If you look to the far right, there's only one that's not highlighted. So it's half, is it the one that has half associates flock group? Foresight?
Let me get back there, but it's highlighted, but it's not. There's no amount there, unless I misread it.
Yeah, there's some, discount amount is zero, but the payment amount is 49.45. So that's the one.
Yeah, it's the second one down.
The Bessie Haynes.
Flock group, Randy?
Huh?
What is the name of the vendor?
It is Flock Group,
Flock Group, on the printed report, I don't know why it's not showing on yours. The amount on that is $50,000, Randy.
Yeah, it's
on
not
the front
showing.
page.
It's not showing on that.
It's showing it now.
Page 4.
She had the 50.
Yeah.
Is that 50,000 the lease agreement, or is that the purchase, Chief? For the flock system, the 50,000
That's
purchase?
Oh, I don't know.
And that also is covered under the next.
Chief said it's covered under the ground.
Yeah, the purchase for the system.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda items.
I have a motion by Councilman Graham to approve the consent agenda as presented. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Graham and a second by Councilman Carrasco. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Consent agenda passes. We'll go now to the non-consent agenda, or F1, presentation of gratitude of the Town of Pecos City Council. Mr. John Ferguson, City of Presidio Mayor.
Good afternoon, Council. I bring you greetings from Presidio, Texas. I'm so glad to be here. It's a wonderful day. It's such a privilege to be able to greet you and tell you how grateful we are in Presidio for some of the kindness and solidarity you've shown with our city. I've got with me my mother, Roseanne Ferguson. She's from Garland, Texas, and my wife, also Lucy Ferguson. So we're all happy to be here. I wanted to just specifically tell you how grateful we are about the recent purchase of a used trash truck that the city of Presidio made with Pecos. And I know that there was an original price that was stated, and then it was decided that you guys would sell it to us at a reduced price, and that has really helped Presidio a lot. Presidio is a city of about 4,000 people, annual budget about $5 million. It just seems like we're always scrambling, and we have I think some of you met our city administrator Pablo Rodriguez, and we got some excellent people taking care of business at City Hall. But then things pop up. And so we were kind of in a tight squeeze around Christmas time with our trash trucks. And so we found out that you had a trash truck available. And so I was just so surprised and so happy to hear that you had decided to sell us your used trash truck for the price that you did. And it really is going to help us a lot. We tend in Presidio, you're probably the same way, we got plenty of issues that we're trying to handle, actually more than enough issues we're trying to handle. And it seems like we don't get out in the world and meet other cities and other people like we probably need to. So we've learned a really good lesson from this, that we have a real ally here in Pecos. And we want you to know from your gesture of kindness that you have an ally in Presidio. And if there's ever any way, you name it, we will be happy to return the favor, and not just that favor, but anything else that we can possibly do. So I just wanted to, again, thank you so much for that action. It's going to help us a lot, and I'm just very honored to be able to speak with you. I'm a retired, I spent my whole career as a teacher in Presidio, so I actually have been in Pecos as a marching band director about 30 years ago with my band here. We played at the Catholic Church with our mariachi, and so we got lots of Presidio friends who are now teachers in the Pecos schools, and so we have a lot of connections here. And so it's a very happy moment for me to be able to come up here and say hi to you, and again, our thanks to your city. So thank you so much.
Hopefully in the future, this will be a sign of solidarity between two cities.
Absolutely.
And hopefully help each other like you presented.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. We'll go on to F two, discuss, consider ordinance 26-02-01. An ordinance adopting the proposed 2021 Area 1 and 2022 Areas 1, 2, and 3 extension of the city municipal boundaries by annexation. Second reading is amended to exclude 2022 Areas 2 and 3 properties owners identified by staff. Strategic 1, sustainability, economic development. Mr. Charles Reno, City Manager.
Mayor and Council, we've taken into account and taken all of the action that we discussed in the last meeting. We've had everybody come through. We do have a map that's up on the screens right now that is going to kind of give you a representation of what it's going to look like on that area. And who's running? Jesus? Do it in, especially on the north side, in the two areas that we're annexing. So as you can see, anything, a little bit more, Jesus. Okay, that's great. Okay, so what you can see is the purple area and the orange area now have green pieces on it. Those are the parcels of the people that came in, that you all granted the opportunity to come exclude. So that is what it is going to look like from an annexation standpoint if you all approve this second reading of the ordinance tonight.
So the purple is what we're taking in.
Purple is what we're taking, purple and the orange are what we're taking in.
So once we make if we agree to this, then it becomes official.
It does, yes,
tonight.
sir. Yes, sir.
All right.
We have a waiting period, but it becomes official tonight,
Okay.
yes, sir.
Now, I don't know if we can answer that question that one of the gentlemen said. Can we answer that question about, are they gonna, we're not coming back to do anything else to this. Once it's annexed, what's highlighted, the purple and the orange. But we if for some other reason we have to come back and annex the green, or I think that's a question that was asked.
And the answer is, in all likelihood, this is fine, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, and the reason that I qualify that is because at some point down the road, could the city afterwards, I mean, we have no intent with the current plan right now. You all have made this decision this way. You've accommodated this. It's going to be accommodated. We will move on to our next sections that are going to be on the southern side for the next time that we bring back an annexation, and following that, we would attach some of the red if we go and move into that. So the answer is through the current plan, and we have no plan to come back and try to say, okay, now we're bringing you in.
They can come and volunteer to come in.
Yeah, that's the only way that any of the green areas right there now, the only way that they can be annexed into the city is through voluntary annexation.
Because come 2028, doesn't it all stop anyway?
Yeah, then we have to take it to the voters for approval.
Okay.
And that's what I was gonna say, there's still 2 years or so left on that prior resolution. So the city could come back during that 2-year period, and it would still be notices, hearings, votes. Is it legally possible during those 2 years? Yes. Obviously not that council would want to, but it is possible. After that, it would be voluntary annexation only.
I'm still like to get, when we move forward, the cost, what it's going to come, annexation, the cost of putting roads in, estimate, of course, and the cost of
Facilities.
the facilities.
Well, I can tell you, if we have to rebuild a complete road, Councilman Graham, the cost is approximately $1.4 to $1.5 million. if we take it to grade. Right now, maintaining roads, it's not gonna, it will not be as much. And to give you all perspective, this area that we're asking you all to annex and complete tonight, we have services and utilities already up there. Part of those areas were covered by the Madera Valley CCN that we acquired a few years ago after a long time. So we do have water and sewer up there right now. So that piece of it it's not going to be.
I'm not talking about that area, I'm talking about when we go south and we come back and pick the red up. I'd like to know what.
Absolutely.
Very estimated.
We can, yes, sir, and absolutely, we can try to estimate what that's gonna cost. The one thing about annexing, as we annex in, some of the areas that are out there, they can maintain and continue their use once they're annexed in, as long as they don't change the use of that land. So if they're operating something that's gonna be agriculture or ranching to the north of that area, there's no timeline on phasing that out if they are annexed in.
But, you know, we're gonna have cost, future cost, and we're gonna have future benefits too.
We will.
We're gonna get to
Yes,
tax
sir.
that area. So what's the combined, you know?
Yes, sir, we can do that, and I can tell you that with the anticipated development on that north side, the industrial side of it, and wrapping it around to the west side with the TERS dollars, that's where we will be able to show you the revenue and the cost, incremental cost that will go into that, and I think it will be something that would be beneficial to the community as a whole.
Okay. Thank you.
Could I look at that thing? I mean, I don't know if it's 100% accurate or not, but I was just curious.
The purple are the ones that accepted. The purple are the ones that accepted.
Because I'm looking,
That's,
these 404. Yeah, what's this little purple thing right here?
That's an area that was not brought in.
But I'm trying to figure out whose it is.
I don't know.
Is this yours?
This is what my number.
Or-
This purple right here.
Okay.
It's strange how that look like.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking this is yours, because you don't go all the way to the corner.
No.
Okay, yeah, I think this is yours. I think that, okay, that is, what's his name's?
Is he here?
No,
The one-
G3. Randall.
Everybody that
Yeah.
brought in those plats.
The owner of this
they've
right
done
here
this.
is the same owner of the home.
Okay, well, I don't know, but I don't know, that I don't know, I know, what's his name, has been selling at G3, but I don't know. about
So
that.
all of the forms that I had you fill out had all of your property
Yes, ma'am.
IDs. And
That's
I had
what's
every
represented.
single one of you confirmed.
Yeah.
So that is exactly what was
I
explained.
was just confused looking at it from over there, I couldn't tell. Yeah, this is Neil, this Junior's, estos son de ustedes.
Okay, gentlemen,
This
gentlemen.
is
Yes, sir.
You had time to look at this, so.
Yeah, I'm just seeing who did and who didn't, if everybody got in that was supposed to
I
be
guess
in.
the concern is that if you're part of it, and you brought your paperwork in, and those that wanted in brought their paperwork,
Yeah.
that's the way it's supposed to be.
So if there's no more, any more questions, I make the motion that we go ahead and go with what's presented here, ordinance 260201.
Any other questions? Any other questions? I have a motion by Councilman Saldana to approve resolution 26-02-01. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second by Councilman Trujillo. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. We'll go on to item F2, discuss and consider ordinance 26-02-01, an ordinance adopting the proposed, sorry about that, repeating myself. F3, update on the NIT tournament at Cyclone Ballparks, strategic goal 5, promote open and consistent communication. Thomas Ward, Cyclone Ballparks General Manager.
Evening, Council. Thomas Ward, General Manager for Cyclone Ballparks. Happy to be here. We have a slideshow I think they're working on pulling up, just to kind of showcase some of the information I'm going to be sharing with you, as well as some pictures from the tournament we hosted a couple weekends ago now. Let's see. Overall, I'll share that it was a very positive event. We got a lot of positive feedback from the members of the teams that came, as well as the staff that were present from the city and from UTRIP. all around a very positive experience, and so I'm happy to share some great things with y'all today. Getting it? Okay. Well, I'll go ahead and dive into some of the numbers while they're pulling it up. So the first thing is we had 54 teams for this tournament. Of those, 28 were considered travel teams, so they were from more than 70 miles away. The rest were considered local teams, there were 26 of them. Of those teams, sorry, I'm trying to remember those numbers off the top of my head. We had 2,300 guests total come to the ballpark each day. Thank you. Appreciate it. So we had 2,350 people come daily to the facility. One of the key things we really liked about that is we did a Placer AI report to determine, who came, where they came from, all of that information. And 100% of the people that came on Saturday came back on Sunday. We didn't lose anybody from day to day. We had a food and beverage revenue for the facility alone of $25,382. So that was $15,000 on Saturday and $10,000 on Sunday. One of the key things with this number is we asked some of our other facilities within our network, what are the numbers y'all are pulling in? And the general consensus was that for a 70-team tournament, so larger than what we hosted, they're averaging about $12,000 a day. So we actually outperformed some of the venues doing larger tournaments with our food and beverage. We also had a pro shop revenue of $4,000, just shy of $4,000, so that was going to be mostly bats, gloves. We also sold a decent number of gear, so like shirts, hats, things like that. People really liking the new pro shop and what we had in there. We did $2,500 on day one, $1,500 on day two. Same thing with that. Not a lot of our facilities have pro shops, so we don't have a lot to be able to judge against. But the consensus when I shared it with some of the other general managers that I talked to was that we were outperforming some of the expectations. So the main thing for us is we budgeted $1,500 a month in revenue for the pro shop, and we hit $2,500 one day, $1,500 the next day, which covers 2 of our months already. So I think Brian Hummins, he's our manager over the pro shop. He's done a fantastic job of really listening to what people want, bringing in that product, and being able to create a great experience when they show up so they can find what they need. Something else we do is that because we're an authorized Rawlings retailer, we can actually order anything that Rawlings carries, even if we don't have it on site. And what that does is it saves on shipping costs and tax costs for the consumer. We pass along our savings to them, and we're able to sell it at cost without any increases. So our total revenue for the weekend for the facility was $29,371, so almost $30,000. We had, I wish I could show you some of the pictures. We got some great pictures, but I believe it'll be shared with y'all soon if they can get it up. And now in terms of economic impact, I worked with Savannah to calculate our economic impact so that way we can make sure we're in alignment. There we go. So there's the numbers up on screen for you. 28 teams from more than 70 miles, 26 from less than 70. So we had a good number of travel teams. Of those, we only had, I'd say, it was like 2 to 3 Pecos teams. Most of the rest of those local teams were going to be Monahans, Odessa, Midland had quite a few. But we had a decent number come from El Paso and up through Lubbock as well. We had some New Mexico teams, so we had kind of a full gambit of this region. We can go to the next slide. So here's some pictures from the event. So just some general coverage. The top right picture is actually from the opening ceremony. That was the catcher who caught the first pitch from the mayor. We had, obviously one of the teams getting ready, taking prayer before their game. They were playing on Chevron Field, the championship field, so they were the oldest division. And then we had some people getting ready and coming into the facility. Go to the next one. So this is our economic impact for direct spending. So in direct spend, we calculated a food and beverage spend of $244,000 here in town, a retail spend of $134,000, transport spend of $78,000, almost $79,000, and lodging spend of $17,000. So we had a lot of money come into town. That's the short version. Here's some more pictures. So you actually, if you look close, you can see the mayor, her husband, Charles, and I believe that's Jimmy Dutchover from the EDC up enjoying the nice upstairs area. You can see a picture of kind of the VIP spread with desserts and some of the stuff from Visit Pecos, some of the things that we were able to pass around to people, and one of my favorite shots from the tournament, you know, getting those great action shots to share with people. Our total economic impact was $1.6 million. So that is going to be your direct spend, your tax off of sales, and then your indirect spend, so people spending money because they got money coming into them. So we had a great economic impact from this event, and it's only going to continue to go up. Some more great action shots, as well as some kids using the splash pad. That was definitely a highlight from the event. We had a lot of people that just basically hung out there the entire day on Saturday and Sunday. Surprisingly, it was 90 degrees in February, but it worked out great for us on the splash pad. We also set up bounce houses by the splash pad. This worked to our favor in two ways. The first is it drew more people to that central area to utilize the front of the plaza area, which also takes some of the load off of our east and west concession stands, so that some of the people buying food can buy it from the middle instead of having to, you know, more people waiting in line. With that said, one of the things that I personally noticed while I was walking around is I never saw more than 6 to 7 people waiting in line at a time, and it was never for more than 3 or 4 minutes. Our lines were moving, they were moving fast, and people noticed. So we can go to the next slide. So this is some of the feedback we actually got. One of my favorites actually came from a coach right before the opening ceremony, so before they even played on our fields. He called us the Disneyland in the desert. It's one of my favorite comments. I love it. Unfortunately, we can't use it too much because Disney might get mad, but it's one of my favorite comments because I think it does sum up the facility in its entirety. We also heard that the bathrooms were clean, the fields were nice, and the staff were so helpful. I never saw any trash cans full all weekend. That's a big deal. In preparation for this tournament, we talked with several council members and our local government board as well. Trash, food, and lines are typically, and bathrooms are typically your pressure points. And based on our feedback that we received from people, none of those were pressure points this weekend. The facility is so nice, better than anything we've ever played at before. We want to play here anytime we can now. On the left, you'll see comments on a TikTok that was not posted by us. It was posted by someone who came for the tournament, highlighting the free splash pad, the free rides to and from your field, the great service, the great complex, all the great things about it. And then these were 2 comments that were shared. The fields were really nice, the facilities were clean, and all the staff were so nice. By far the best fields I've been to. Absolutely love the complex and staff. And then the third comment on there that I didn't put on is just us thanking that person, because we did respond back to them, letting them know, like, hey, we saw this and we appreciate that. From Tommy Hawkins, go back one. From Tommy Hawkins, the USSSA director for this event, and from some of his staff, these are 2 comments that we heard. Thomas and his team knocked it out of the park. The hospitality was the best we have ever had, and we have received 0 complaints all weekend about anything. Great job, and thank you for hosting a fantastic event. So I want to highlight that last comment. I don't know how many of y'all have run events or worked large events. 0 complaints doesn't happen. There's always somebody complaining about something. And our job is to usually, head that off, fix it, resolve it, whatever it is. I probably had one of the smoothest weekends ever as a general manager, being able to walk around, enjoy the event, and just make sure things were running smoothly, because we really didn't get complaints. All we got were compliments and people loving the facility and loving the experience that we hosted. We can go to the next one now. Some more great shots from on the fields, as well as the banners. So those are the banners they used for each of the divisions whenever they had a championship team. So this was the Texas Outlaws, West Texas Outlaws, I believe. I don't remember where they're from off the top of my head, but they were one of the teams playing in one of the older divisions. Again, just a lot of great experiences and great feedback from our guests. Go to the next slide. So we just wanted to share a quick thank you to everyone that helped support this event. So you all as city council members, the city manager's office, the IT department, CVB, communications, public affairs, the police department for having officers on site helping maintain crowd control and safety. I'm happy to report that we only had 1 gentleman get asked to leave because he was causing a disturbance for the umpires, and they kicked him out. So we only had 1 guy that had to leave. The Reeves County Golf Course for the assistance of their golf carts during the event, so we could help move people around a little bit easier. And Reeves County ESD also set up on site We only had 2 people transported for dehydration, 1 on Saturday, 1 on Sunday. Also really great considering how hot it was, and I think unprepared some people were for that heat. Because of the concession stands being consistently stocked and ready to go, we didn't have too many issues, luckily. The one I know of, the gentleman basically didn't eat or drink anything, and he stayed on the field for the entire time, plus some. So luckily ESD was able to get him some help, get him some saline, get fluid in him. We also want to thank Dickey's Barbecue, Torrillas Tacos, and Veronica Williams for Congress. They helped provide the umpire meals during this event so that the umpires didn't have to pay for anything. It was all covered by these businesses or these entities. Photos by Bailey was out there helping collect material for us for marketing. The Economic Development Corporation had their video crew out there. Lemur, I can't remember the name of the company. Yeah. They were out there helping collect some material as well. Of course, the USSSA staff for their support of our event and for coming out and helping us out. And then we also had the assistance of 2 of our company's people, the general manager and assistant general manager from Play Portland. So Portland, Texas, another one of our complexes here. They run large events just like us, and they were extremely impressed by the facility, by the operation, by what we were able to do. They are extremely jealous of the kitchens that y'all put in there. So I appreciate that because we do have some fantastic kitchens. But they were very jealous of the facility and what we have out there. And then SFC Marketing for helping us collect material, prep to get those turned into videos and marketing material that we can use going forward. And then just a final thank you to my team at Cyclone. I just want to make sure I say it to y'all as well. Like, this would not have been possible without everybody that helped us make it happen. And that includes all the staff that worked tirelessly to get it ready and also take care of it during the day. Final comments I have, and then if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those. Some of the areas of improvement that we identified so we can continue to get better and continue to make this a quality experience for our guests is we have some reduction in staff hours that we can do to reduce our costs. This one we did staff a little extra just to be extra prepared, make sure we didn't have any shortfalls in any areas. Now that we've been able to run it, we have a better idea of where we can make some adjustments so that we can reduce those staff costs and increase that profit margin. We'll also do the same with our maintenance staff, making sure that we're staffing appropriately so that they're here to do what they're expected to do and meet those expectations of our guests, because this is now the standard. When every time those guests come, we want them to have the same or better experience than the last time they came. One of the things with trash that we identified, luckily nobody complained about it, is we were not on top of the parking lot trash as well as I would have liked them to have been. We noticed it, we got our staff out there, got them to clean it up, and it wasn't an issue the rest of the weekend. However, what we're going to do to fix that going forward is we're going to set times for the entire maintenance staff if they're free, they're going to go out there and do a big round, clean up everything in the parking lot, just to continue to prevent that from being an issue. So that's going to be one of the changes we make. One of the other things with trash is getting a roll-off for tournaments, which I've already been able to coordinate, so that's going to help us as well. Our dumpsters just weren't able to hold all the trash. We did end up renting a pull-behind trailer to throw the trash into. We had someone that we know locally that could help us out, so we rented that day of, and we're able to take care of the trash so that way we didn't have it piling up anywhere. And then another adjustment we're going to make is the concert. While it was well-intended and we wanted to welcome people to town upon the advice of our board, it wasn't as attended as we would have liked. It was a long day. It was hot especially, and so we are going to forego concerts during the tournament and just focus on the experience while they're playing their games. We also want to get more groups and businesses involved. We got great feedback from Dickey's and Torrillas, from all these groups that we did work with, that were able to be a part of what we were doing, about the experience they had. I mean, on that Placer AI report, of the top 10 places that people went to or from, it was local businesses and hotels. And one of those businesses was Dickey's Barbecue itself. I mean, they told us that after the games ended on Saturday, they got swamped with people because they came in and dropped off the food. Everybody saw their truck and knew, oh wait, there's a Dickey's in town. And so we're hoping to continue to expand that to more businesses and get more businesses involved so that they can have that same experience. And I know Savannah mentioned that when she drove around town, all she saw was busy parking lots on Saturday and Sunday. So I think we had a lot of great feedback, and a lot of people really loved coming to town. And we've got a softball tournament coming up next weekend, so we're going to roll out the red carpet for them again, keep that great experience going, and then keep going from there. if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
You talked about dropping staff hours, but that was why you had clean bathrooms and not a trash problem. So I don't know if you want to reconsider that.
Yeah, so the staffing we did allow us to have that, but we did have times that I identified that staff were not doing that. They were helping in other ways because we could use the help, but it wasn't help that was absolutely necessary. So instead of having them just be around to be around, either we need to identify where they can be more helpful in splitting those hours up, or reducing some of those hours so that we're not reducing the guest experience at all, but reducing our costs just a little bit.
The other one is you have trash cans, receptacles in the parking lot.
Yes.
You do?
Yeah, we have a handful out there.
Yeah, so y'all need to make announcements to the people. To
Yeah.
those people that put the trash, instead of walking 20 feet, 30 feet to go dump their trash, you need to periodically make announcements that please
Of course.
help us keep the area.
Yeah, and what I will say is, I mean, talking with my team who was out there doing, it wasn't bad by any means, which is why we didn't get any complaints. It was not to my standard, I guess is the best way to put it. So I looked at it as, would I be happy seeing that? No.
Yeah.
So that's why we had them do that extra.
That's a good way to gauge it. If you're not happy with it.
Exactly.
You know.
Yeah, because it doesn't matter who comes in, they should get the same experience.
Yes, sir.
And no matter what time of the day, no matter when, we want to make sure they're having that same experience. So, like I said, it wasn't that it was bad, we wanted to get ahead of it. And so that's why we're going to implement this going forward of, even if it's not bad, we're still going to go out there and do a quick clean on it, because if we do that 2 or 3 times a day, it takes us probably a third of the time if we had to go out there and do a whole parking lot one big time. So it saves us some time as well.
How many golf carts did you have?
So we had our golf cart running, as well as 2 from the golf course running. Yeah, and we didn't really need all 3 of them, I will say, for this size tournament. We probably could have gotten away with 2 and been just fine, because what we noticed is a lot of people, because they have their carts and stuff, they're not necessarily getting rides. We're more so giving rides to the people who desperately need it for medical reasons, or people like the kids that are like, well, I want to ride, and the kid, we're free, there's no one else looking for a ride, so we'll give them a ride as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
The teams have to pay an entry fee?
Yeah, so they pay an issue fee to the tournament director, to UTRIP, to register for the event, and then there's a gate fee that they pay per team. I think it was $130 this time, and they pay that, and that covers all of their guests.
Is it in here?
That doesn't come to us.
Where does it go to?
That goes to UTRIP. Yeah, so that's pretty typical. They'll take the gate fee. What we have done with some of our rights holders is we'll try and get a part of that gate fee.
I was there both days, and I was very impressed the way it was run. The things I saw, the comments because I talked to a lot of coaches and all that, just asking them from a scale of 1 to 10 about the fields. And one coach from Odessa actually told me, y'all just worried about the dirt. We don't play on that. We're playing on that stuff. Mm-hmm. And he was very happy, and he goes, in Odessa, we've been trying to build what you guys build, and I can't understand how a smaller community can do what you all are doing to what they have over there. So, it takes people working together to make it happen, and that's what happened here. And like I said, I went out there Sunday after church. I went out there. I was there for a couple hours, just walking around and looking. And out of the 8 fields, 6 were still being played, and I'm talking about 8 fields, but those big fields, they were all being played.
Yeah.
So you had 6 games going over there on 3 fields, and then the other fields over here. So I was impressed. That's why I went, because I still parked at the very end. I had to do a lot of walking just to get there, but I enjoy walking it. But it was, and I encourage everybody to this weekend with the softball to go out there and. It's this weekend, right?
Next weekend.
Next weekend.
It's the 21st and 22nd, yes.
So to get involved in it, because it's awesome. This is about Pecos. It's about the pride of our kids. One thing I was kind of, and I'm not disappointed, but I was glad to see. I was talking to a gentleman, and they were out of Albuquerque, New Mexico, to come and play in Pecos. And he was impressed. He goes, man, this is awesome, brother. This is awesome. The team from Lubbock. I think that's where the Outlaws were. I think there were 2 Outlaws, but the first ones, they were from Lubbock, because at the opening ceremony, I was talking to him, and he goes, man, I can't believe we don't have nothing like this over there. So everything was positive, and that's what we want. It's a positive, and it's about the kids. Man, they were having, we need to make the splash park a lot bigger, because in the evening, when I went in the evening, even the parents were getting wet and then going to sit down.
Yeah.
Because it was 95 degrees out there.
Yeah, it
So
was
great.
well used during the tournament, that's for
It
sure.
was great.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
So it was good. You know, for an extended period of time, this community has solely recognized the rodeo as a primary tourist attraction. And however, with the recent tournament, we're gradually establishing ourselves as a destination for exceptional facilities and hospitality in the region. And you guys were part of that success, so thank you for that.
Thank you.
Another thing is this community has an opportunity to hit a home run and capitalize on future events. We need to think outside the box and make those connections to bring those events such as track and field, World Series events, soccer, swimming regionals, you know, and this is pertaining towards you, but you know, if any of the other taxing entities are listening to this or watching, we need to make sure we put these state-of-the-art facilities to use and get more of an economic impact on our hotels and businesses for them to succeed. So I think that's very important that we get out there and put all those things to use. This past weekend, I did talk to Julie. She's the U-Trip softball director for the region, and she's the one that's going to represent softball. And we kind of refined our strategies for the upcoming, it's called Battle of the Bling. It's an event scheduled for March 21st through 22nd. So this event is going to be another NIT, but it's going to be for softball. The one that we had last time was for baseball. So now the girls will have an opportunity to represent. And I know we have about 3 travel ball teams that are locally that are excited to
I think we're at
compete.
4 right now.
4?
Yeah.
Good.
4 local Pecos teams are registered, as well as 1 Monaghan's team.
So to recap everything, Bailey did a good job. Photos by Bailey. I did see those photos. I like Bryant to be able to generate, produce more photos than what we saw. I mean, I did see him taking a lot of photos out there. So that's something that we want to put to work. And I know you're probably already doing this, but most importantly, we need to capture good promotional video for this. So whenever we advertise to future tournaments and coaches, that they're able to see the facility and what it could become.
So that's exactly what he was doing, his focus. So that's why one of the reasons we had Bailey there, as well as Edward and the communications and marketing department, was so that they could help us capture some of the photos.
Good.
Because Brian's focus was on videos.
Perfect.
That's why we utilize multiple resources for that. That way he could get those videos, so he's already submitted those to the editor so that we can create that 1.5 minute video. That's gonna be our like catch-all be-all of like, hey, this is the place to play, here's what you can expect when you come. We're gonna use that for all baseball tournaments going forward. And then for this softball tournament coming up, we're gonna do the same thing, capture more material, so we can have a baseball one and a softball one.
Perfect.
Sounds good.
Yes, sir.
Well, I'll thank you for what you all did.
Thank you.
Your staff, because they did an awesome job.
Did we get the hotel rooms corrected?
Yes, there were hotel rooms in town. I know of a couple that were around 84% capacity. I don't have the exact numbers. I don't know if Savannah, if you have those yet. Yeah, they're still collecting that information. But we did, like I said, on that place area, it tells you where people came from and went to, and 6 or 7 of the top 10 places was hotels. So that tells me a majority of our guests were going back to hotels or coming from hotels when they came to us. So we don't, like I said, we don't know the exact number, but we know that several hotels did report good numbers that we did talk to.
Yeah, people driving around town were like, I can't believe what I'm seeing in Pecos. And I'm like, well, if we play our cards right, we're going to see much more of that. And we continue to have our foot on the gas.
Yep.
I think we'll be good.
Yeah, one of the other things that Tommy Hawkins, the U-Trip director, shared is he was very impressed, like I said, by us and by the facility. He plans to make Pecos one of his primary locations going forward. So he wants to do more and more events with us. So we're going to continue to build that relationship and try and get him out there as much as possible.
Okay, since we're on that topic, I want to say here for the council, and I've said it to Thomas and he's aware, it's just that the most important thing is this is going to be the home of U-Trip for softball and baseball. And we need to prioritize them first before anybody else. So anything that they want, they get first dibs, and then the rest go after that. So just want to put that out there. Because they will bring in the numbers. Wherever the directors go, they follow. Sometimes there's tournaments that people want to make and see it's like a trial basis, and it doesn't work. But when you establish a reputation for yourself as a director, everybody already knows each other from coaches to players, and they follow wherever that director goes. It doesn't matter if it's in a town of 500 or a town of 15,000, they will follow.
And
that's
how
what
often
happened.
in advance do they schedule the tournaments? Do they?
A year, believe it
A year
or
in
not.
advance?
Some of them are a year, some of them they'll do 2 to 3 months. So I tried to relay that to the rights holders, and especially for U-Trip, of like, I need to know what dates you want, because eventually I do need to book that weekend. I want to get something in here, because that's my job, is to book the facility. But obviously, yes, I want to give it to the people who are performing, who are getting people to come to the facility to come to Pecos. So, but I need them to also give me that information. So I keep pushing on them, and I continue to have conversations with both Julie and Tommy about getting more events with
And
us.
it's just building that relationship because
Yeah.
he has a big following.
Yes. And I appreciate the efforts of Councilman Trasco and David Joe Gonzalez from our board, because they helped us bridge that relationship with Tommy Hawkins. I had reached out to him, was not getting anywhere, and they were able to help us bridge that gap. So I do appreciate their efforts in making that happen, because now I have a great relationship. Tommy is very happy with us and with the facility, so we're able to do a lot more, I think, going forward.
Good.
Thank you, sir.
Thank y'all.
We're gonna move
Still want to hang
F9.
out, Thomas?
Yeah.
You're up next again.
We're moving F9 up. Discuss, consider the application of fees for Little League practice games at city facilities. Strategic goal 4, enhance quality of life through recreation, culture, and education. Ms. Trujillo?
Okay, so, I'm bringing up the fees for the Little League, use of the fields, for a couple of important reasons. For the past couple of years, my late father, Tony Trujillo, Reeves County Commissioner for Precinct 4, would use his special project fund to pay upfront the fees that Little League would be incurring for use of Cyclone. Now that he has, of course, passed away, there's nobody to pick up the fee for that use, unfortunately. And I think to start capitalizing on Little League and start charging them, the families, it's not the right thing to do. Our neighborhood fields are in disrepair, making every team, kind of forcing them to have to go into Cyclone. It's a beautiful park, and it creates unnecessary financial and logistical burdens to our locals. While Cyclone Ballpark was built to generate revenue, I don't agree with trying to turn a quick profit off of our families. Waiving or reducing these fees isn't just fair, it's the right thing to do to keep youth sports accessible, and increase the commitment and pride and leadership of our local kids and families that are involved in youth sports. This helps us also fulfill our strategic goal number 4 of enhancing quality of life through recreation and education. This year will also be the first year for the Challenger League that will include children with developmental physical disabilities, which are often excluded in youth sports, or parents don't feel comfortable enrolling them in youth sports teams because of different stigmas, or they feel the patience isn't going to be there for the kids. So I'm really happy to go ahead and remind people that this is available for children that have previously been inadvertently excluded from the sportsmanship in youth sports. Okay, this will ensure that every child has the chance to play and be part of a team. So that's my spiel, I guess, my advocacy for trying to help out Little League. Maybe not waive the fees completely, because I do know that there are operating costs to use the fields, and I would really like to incorporate them in building the pride, and maybe having them rotate trash duty, restroom duty, or trying to help out maintain the field so that they could have a sense of ownership and pride into what we have here locally. So it could be, just a volunteer thing, maybe while they're not playing, another team could be helping with trash pickup or something. It could be a good partnership that could help the local families and help your staff members and help them feel, included.
Mr. Trujillo would always pay it, since I remember, from his funds.
It's been, I think, 25,000 or 50.
It was 25,000.
But it was,
For the-
so my understanding that it's being dropped to 10?
Well, to explain it, and I'll let Thomas do some of it. Commissioner Trujillo was great about getting and supporting the Little League. And he allocated $25,000 for 2 years. I can tell you the last 2 years, when he started getting sick and stuff, that he was not able to push through the Commissioner's Court to get that done. So the Little League for the last 2 years has been using the facility at no cost, which is not okay for the city. And so the $25,000 was the number that we had set as a baseline. And because they hadn't paid for 2 years, there was a decision to reduce that $25,000 back to $10,000 and then possibly ratchet it up over time. That's where that $10,000 number came to. I think Thomas has done some analysis and analytics, so I'm going to let him share exactly what he thinks it cost to operate the facility.
Right before we start, could we not do an interlocal government agreement in the county? We should.
Well, and I did respond to something because I had some conversations and I shared with Councilwoman Trujillo that somebody had approached a judge, and the judge said that he would not mind carrying it forward and possibly doing it as a memorial to Tony Trujillo Sr. But I think it's going to take some effort from somebody to go to Commissioner's Court to get that done. It's not, because we all know the judge. The judge isn't just going to jump and champion that. He's going to want somebody to come and present it to Commissioner's Court to get that done.
Well, it should be us, but it's our kids inside the city limits playing a sport that has been always supplied and supported and provided in funds since I can remember. I played a little bit, but I was a pitcher, but I'd get more kids and that hit the balls that I pitched.
And I think it also, going on that, it's our responsibility to offer the fields, because we've done such a poor job at maintaining our current fields. And it's kind of offensive to say, well, use the crappy fields, but you can't play at Cyclone, which it's our responsibility for not maintaining those fields.
Did we have some money in the budget for the fields out at Maxie Park?
We do, yes, sir.
I wonder if we could use some of that to pay the fee for the kids to play at Cyclone.
I personally would rather ask the county.
We'll make that the second step then. If you can't get it from the county, we'll take it out of the budget.
And again, the only thing I think it needs to be a collaborative effort. I think the Little League has to have a vested interest and show up at Commissioner's Court also. Because if the city's coming, I can tell you, if the city's coming to ask for money again, if the Little League is coming, the Little League is coming to perpetuate something that is historically been done. And so it's going to, and again, this is just coming from me, and me going to Commissioner's Court when I go and we're talking about dollars, it's going to be received a lot better from the Little League than it would be from the city.
But it would be good for us to support it and be there to support it.
Yeah,
I have no problem doing that.
Historically, the fee was paid to Little League because they are a nonprofit, and then they would then pay it to Cyclone. However, when I started, I wasn't aware of that whole agreement, and so we weren't able to continue that conversation of, okay, well, how are we going to do that this year? And so that fell off to the side for the last 2 years until it was brought back up that, hey, they actually were paying and were supposed to be paying. And so that's why we did this reduced one. This $10,000, I can dive into it. It's essentially to help us cover our operating costs. It's not to make profit, so I do want to make that clear. We're not trying to make profit off of these families. We're trying to break even. This would give us a break even for the staffing costs of maintaining these fields, the electricity to run the lights on those fields, the water and sewage and trash services that we provide. I think those are great ideas for working with the teams and building that pride with them. So I definitely will take that back to Mr. Trujillo and see what he thinks about that and see what we can come up with.
And what about concession stands sales? I saw your numbers just from this tournament that those food sales, you've got so many hungry kids and families, and they're going to be hitting up those concession stands. 100%. So I know that's going to be a good profit on that end.
Yeah, so I did an analysis. So for the last 2 years, our revenue in 2024 was $65,600. In 2025, there were less kids participating in Little League, and unfortunately that meant we took a hit. So we had only $55,000 in revenue for last year. Now, our COGS value, so the cost of goods sold, so the value of the food we have to buy that we then sell, is about 32%. So that reduces those numbers down to $44,600 and $37,300. After our labor costs, which comes out for that entire Little League season, comes out to $49,500 for us to staff janitorial, trash, and concessions. We end up with a loss, not including utilities, of $5,000 and $12,000 for the last 2 years. And so with utilities built in, just electricity for the fields, and this is probably a conservative estimate, we're still looking at $10,000 of loss in 2024 and $16,500 loss in 2025. So that's, yes, we are making money and it helps us offset some of the costs, but it doesn't offset all of our costs. And that is also including the sectionals and all-star games that we host. So those add about $15,000 to $20,000 in revenue to that total. So we really are sitting at about $40,000 for the first year and $35,000 for the second year on just our week-to-week games.
You know, there's a really big misunderstanding in the community, and I was one of them a while back, that they think that we're the ones, or yourself or anybody, when they ask me, hey, are the fields free? And that's where the lack of communication to the community is, to help them understand what the fields, how they were built. So right now is the opportunity to explain for people listening, to people reading the newspaper, how these things how this breaks down instead, because they're still going to not understand. And I mean, I could tell you exactly what the breakdown consists of. I mean, this was paid using hot tax dollars versus local taxes and user fees. So how much operating cost really needs to be covered by Little League? I had asked you that question when I first got into council, because I was very active in Little League, and at the same time was active in travel ball. And you did that's even Charles was in this conversation, to bring up the fact that they utilize all the fields. You gave me a formula, right?
Yeah, so they're using, this year with the schedule they've produced, they're going to be using fields Monday through Friday. They're using a total of 7 of our 8 fields that they've reserved for Little League, and they're going to be using them for about 4 hours a day. And that doesn't include for delays in game or weather issues, things like that, of course.
And that's for how many months? I guess 2 months, 3 months?
So my calculation is about 15 weeks from the time that they start, which was about 2 weeks ago, all the way through sectionals. Because once the season ends, they do still continue all-star practices up until all-stars begins. And then once that ends, there's about a week break and then sectionals.
So when you have a scheduled tournament like here in a couple of weeks, the Little League, I mean, Monday through Thursday they can use them, because usually our tournament starts on a Friday.
Most tournaments for us start Saturday, Sunday, so what we've already talked.
So it doesn't interfere with that.
It won't interfere with our other operations. And I've already talked to Little League on, if we have a big tournament coming in, we're going to have to flip the fields on Friday. So Friday right now, they're just planning to have us practice days.
And this is like Councilman Carrasco said, it's just the communication part that has been lacking for a long time. Because one of the things where we dropped the ball is that we haven't provided nothing for our kids outside. Chano Preto Field, it's nice, but it's not ready. It couldn't handle 50-14. Our fields out there couldn't handle nothing. Really, it couldn't handle nothing. The big fields at the park, because we've never taken care of them. I mean, they use them for practice, men's softball and all that. They're trying to find they practice right there at a dirt field across the street from my house, about a block away. And those are kids. And, we built this to make money. But to make money was Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Monday through Thursday. Then because I wanted my kids to experience what we got out there. Not just to see it from far away.
Drive by and
So
pay to get it.
In my deal, I know they need to step up themselves. The board step up and do what they need to do for the kids. And then like Mr. Trujillo, because of the love for baseball. If I had the money, I'd be paying for that, because that is about our future, and that's how I see it. Just like what we did for this the town of Presidio, we can do it for our own, because this is about Pecos and it's about our future, our kids, and however we work this, like the pro tem mayor said, we do an interlocal Let's talk to the county, but, you know, to the commissioner, but the commissioners will hear it better from the Little League.
Yes.
Than from us. To the Little League to come and say this, and this, and then with us helping, supporting, maybe we can work something out. Because I want my community to understand what we got out there. Just like when they used to play Chano Preto Field. When there was a baseball game, they were parked all over the place. One team go off, another team come to play, another team, I mean, it was all day long, those lights till 10 o'clock playing. That's what I want to see in our fields over there. Of course. Monday through Sunday, whatever.
Yeah.
But we're going to have to push it. We can push our tournaments on the weekends, but what about Monday through Thursday?
And that's.
Because your job is all week.
Yes.
Your job is all week, you
Yes.
know? And so, I don't know how we're going to work this, but I want to see something positive of this.
Of course.
And that's is involved the Little League themselves. They need to know. As many companies as out there, I can't believe they can find sponsorship for their teams. I did when my grandson was. I went and found a company that bought all the uniform, and all they have to do is talk, because it doesn't just come.
Yeah.
It's not like somebody has to step out and talk.
Yeah.
I have to remind
Relationship.
everybody, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I remembered, anybody that lives in precinct 4 needs to know that there are funds available in that precinct that are going to be unused for a full year while that seat is vacant. So people need to be aware of that each commissioner receives a very hefty pet fund account. So precinct 4 is currently forgotten. So I just want to remind everybody that there is money in that fund for community outreach and for youth sports or anything that needs to be done in precinct 4. And I don't want to call out anybody or the commissioners or the judge, but it's kind of a forgotten thing and nobody really wants to talk about it or fill the vacant seat before the election and whatever. But you know, as a community, you have to be aware of those things and those issues and hold the people that make those decisions accountable for that.
And those monies are not just for outside the city limits, it encompasses.
Exactly.
All the other, there's 3 other precincts too that has money.
Right.
We need to hit up, not just 4.
Yes. And there's also other taxing entities. I think people focus on the county and the city. The ESD, I wish there was more people in the audience. The ESD has a very hearty, hefty fund balance, and they don't help anybody besides the ESD. And the community needs to be aware of that, and their pockets are very full. And hospital board also. School, they help a lot, but people generally go to the city and to the county. Just a reminder.
Yeah, and I'll say for this, the goal was really just to let Little League know, like, hey, this is what it costs us to help you run it. We're not trying to get anybody. We're not. I've grown up around sports and outdoor activities and recreation. That's my passion. That's why I love what I do. So I fully support what you were saying earlier about, we want to support this community. So for us, we have a business to run. We got to figure out a way to cut our costs or reduce our costs or make that money somewhere. And unfortunately, after conversing with council members and with city manager Charles Lino, we decided, hey, we're going to do reduced costs, see if we can get something this year. That way we can offset those costs with the hope of Little League being able to go and procure those funds elsewhere. I've already told Little League that we're not looking for that money right now by any stretch of the imagination. I'm willing to give them the time so they can get what they need and talk to the people they need to. Or if this council decides an alternative, then of course
What if they
we'll fall back.
decide that, encourage the families and to go spend their dollars at the concession stand, and that part of those funds will be paid for their field use fees, or I really like that you incorporated or you invited a food truck or a local vendor that I'm not sure what their fee was, but I'm sure they were busy the entire weekend, and I hope that they were very profitable. I'm not sure how they contributed They probably paid a fee.
They had a vendor fee, a vendor split,
So that's a really good idea. That gets a local company, restaurant, food truck involved, and it could kind of help themselves, and then they help raise funds to help
Yeah.
pay the fees. And I agree, I don't think it should be something that's completely just given. I feel like they need to earn it, and the kids need to have a sense of ownership and responsibility, because if we start just allowing them, they don't appreciate it. And I feel that they need to give something in return.
Yeah, and I would definitely have that conversation with Mr. Trujillo about what that can look like for us. There's certain things obviously within laws and stuff we got to be careful of, and we will make sure we follow those.
Child labor laws, yeah.
Yep. But we have opportunities, like you said, helping pick up trash, helping clean up, maybe doing minor stuff around the facility for beautification, things like that we could probably work with him on, and I think those are great ideas. So we will definitely have that conversation with him about what that can look like.
And I would like to just throw something in there, Thomas, because
Yeah.
right now, just so Mayor and Council knows, it's not like the fields have been shut down and Little League's not using the fields.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's been no payment, but Little League's using the fields.
Yes,
So
that's why I
their
said
season
that.
started, so
Yeah.
whether or not this get resolved or not, Little League is going to use Cyclone
Yes.
for the season. Okay,
Yeah.
just so you all know.
Well,
Yeah.
Mr. Trujillo did make the comment that help us for this year and next year once we get our feet going, but I don't think he's expecting this, that much help. And he wants to get running at a better.
Yeah, and we are happy to be a part of that.
Yeah, I'm glad. Okay. Any other questions?
I have one last thing to say. I don't like the idea of passing the buck to the county. It's not their responsibility. I mean, we as a council right now can make a decision should we choose to opt to not charge Little League moving forward, where we make the money on the concessions because they make about $10,000 a month. But another thing that I want to bring up and advocate for is I was a strong advocate for Little League. I was probably the one leading the front line. I know Commissioner Moore, due to her generosity, is already, if I'm correct, $75,000 to $80,000 renovation donation to Chano Prieto. You also have these travel ball teams as well. So that's something, when you think of Little League, it's more of a developmental league, which it is designed for kids to have fun. Then you have your local travel ball teams. If we're going to show favoritism towards one organization, then let's take care of our travel ball teams that are local, that are paying the $50 an hour as well, waive their fees so that they can compete at a higher caliber as well. But you have USA softball around the corner that just signed up, and then you have travel teams, which we're part of one, and we have to pay $50 an hour to use these fields. So I think if anybody is a local travel ball team in Pecos, they should also have the benefit of the doubt to have those fees waived to be able to practice and have an allocated field as well. Because they're a higher caliber, playing.
I think that's a really unfair thing to say, because they have the funds and resources to travel, that they're a higher caliber of player. That's offensive to kids that just play regular Little League, and I completely don't agree with that.
How is
I think
that
it's wrong.
offensive?
I think it's wrong. It's a higher caliber of
No,
kid,
their play level.
because they get to play travel ball.
Just
That's
because
wrong.
they play travel doesn't mean they have money. It's because they want to be
It's
competitive.
expensive.
But that's a choice.
Yeah,
once it comes
that the
to
parents
us,
make.
That the parents make, and the ones that are playing Little League possibly don't have that affordability.
It's the same people playing Little League that play travel ball. So if we're going to start rewarding people and waiving the fees, why not waive the travel ball teams that are local too?
Valerie, what did you want to get done?
I'm still talking here if y'all don't mind. I mean, we have travel baseball teams and travel softball teams. Anybody that's from Pecos deserves the benefit of the doubt. These are the people that go to the All-Stars that are representing. So what makes them different? How do we know their financial means? And that's what I don't understand. How do we know that we know their financial means? If we're going to give to one, let's give to the rest. Because they're still the ones paying the $50 an hour. So, I mean.
Put it on the agenda.
Well, this is what I think. The travel teams and the Little League, it's all the same people. And they're all the same kids.
It is.
They just pick to go. The ones that can travel. The ones that can't. Like my grandson made the all-star team to go travel, but he didn't travel because I can't. I mean, there's no way I could. Not because financially, it's just my time. Right? So I think it ought to be. Our town is blessed. Let me tell you, our town is blessed and is fixing to get blessed even more with the things that are happening. And this is our time to shine. Instead of disagreeing on things that, like I said, it's about our future. It's about our kids. To open their eyes to see what's out there so that they can continue. You know why those baseball fields were built? Because they changed the law in Austin. And it was my brother and the mayor, and the city manager at that time. They had to go to Austin with Mr. Duchover that opened the door for them to change the law so that we could build those baseball fields. And I think for them, and it was, your dad was involved, Tony Trujillo was involved, because that was the people at that time that were all involved with baseball. You know why Pecos got the law changed? It's because they went before the board, whoever the board was there in Austin, and the main guy that didn't talk was the main guy that said, you know what? I vote that we give them what they want, because if anybody has ever beaten us, it's those teams coming out of Pecos. So when I heard that, I was like, wow. And this is people from Austin, people from Houston and all that, because Pecos was known for baseball. And we had all our fields at that time. And one day, hopefully, we'll have those fields again, for people for our kids that in a weekend that they're out there. One day maybe we'll have, I heard college baseball may be coming to do a tournament. How about our high school baseball? We can have our tournament over a weekend. But in the meantime, while we can, let's open it to all. I mean, $10,000 is $10,000. To me, it's a lot of money. But to these companies that are here doing business with us, with the city, with the county, with the other entities, and many things that can happen to Pecos, if we play it right, we're going to be like that. The mayor from Presidio said, we're blessed. We bless them. We need to do the same thing to our own people. So that's my take.
So I'm going to make a motion that we reduce the fees to $5,000 for this year for Little League to utilize Cyclone, and the fee will change next year. This allows them to pay something for use of the fields, and concession stand, that can be something that you discuss with the board for a percentage of fees and sales to go towards their little balance. So I make a motion that we reduce the fee to $5,000 for Little League, and I encourage any other organizations that want the same privilege to put it on the agenda. So I make a motion on item F9 to decrease the fee to $5,000 for the Little League.
I have a motion by Councilman Trujillo to reduce the fee to $5,000 for this year. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilman Saldana. All those in favor say aye.
I'd like to speak on that before I make the decision. So we're making a motion to lower a fee. Wouldn't that exclude a vote because you're related to Tony? Wouldn't that be a conflict of interest? The reason I ask, because I am the strongest advocate in this room, and I want people to know from Little League right now. I went out there.
I feel like
Councilwoman, you've already made your motion, and under the Robert Rules of Order, once you make a motion, it belongs to me.
Well, we have a second, sir.
So
we have a second, so it's actually over.
So I could, no, once y'all make the motion under Robert Rules of Order, I'm allowed to speak. Y'all can't speak no more. Y'all have already made the motion.
Second.
Was already second.
I understand, but after the second, under Robert's Rules of Order, I can now speak before we vote on it. So once a person under Robert Rules of Order makes a motion, you can no longer speak on it. So going back to what I was saying, I am the biggest advocate for Little League. I have raised a lot of money for Little League, but I've seen a lot of these travel ball teams as well suffer. So we are no one to pinpoint and say these people have money. They don't. They just like to play the game, so they travel every weekend. So I'd like to make a motion to amend that motion to moving forward that any travel ball team gets reduced price per hour for renting the fields as well. Because they too need to get some kind of advantage here, a win. And these are local kids. These are local kids that play travel sports that love the game. Little League plays maybe 8 games a year. They want to play, they play 8 games a weekend. So we can't sit here and say they got money. We don't know their financials. So I'd like to make a motion to amend that motion to add half price charge. What do you charge, $50 an hour?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to amend that to now move it to charge $25 an hour to anybody else who's willing to rent the field that is part of a travel organization.
Okay, right now we got a motion for the Little League. So I need your assistance. So we got to pass that motion first and then entertain a second motion, or does that second motion have to be addressed in the next city council meeting?
So in my view, since the agenda item specifically says Little League, I don't know if we can amend it to add a third party.
So let's put it on the next agenda, please.
It would be on, yeah, that would be the easiest.
So we could charge other baseball and softball teams that are local Pecos teams half price for rental fees, or maybe possibly waive the fees for them as well, so they can have access to a practice field instead of playing on the dilapidated fields that we kept talking about, which I'm a strong advocate for that as well, as fixing up our fields.
Okay, so the motion is by Mr. Trujillo to reduce the fees to $5,000 for this year. Had a second by Councilman Saldana. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll go on to F4. Discuss, consider resolution 2603-02R, a resolution of the City Council of the Town of Pecos City, Texas, amending the city purchasing policy to reflect updated text state procurement threshold, providing for conflicts, severability, and an effective date, strategic goal 6, sound governance, fiscal management. Ms. Ramirez is not here, so hello.
I look great, don't I? Mayor Pro Tem and Council, Griffin Borland, Assistant to the City Manager. In your packet, you will find Resolution 26-03-02R. And this resolution is proposing that the city amend its purchasing policy to bring ourselves back in line with state law, which recently changed back in September of last year. This change raised the bidding threshold and council approval threshold from $50,000 to $100,000 statewide, and the city is seeking our purchasing policy to then match that. Currently, as I just stated, it is $50,000 and above, which requires sealed bids as well as council approval for any purchasing above that amount. Under the new proposal, that amount between $50,000 and $99,999 would simply be city manager approval. And then it would raise the thresholds within the city policy for supervisor approval and then director approval internally. But that is the long and the short of this resolution.
So what it does, it raises the threshold up to 99.99.
Yes.
Without, okay, instead of the 50, now it's 100.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'll make the motion that we approve 26-03-02R. If there's any questions.
I have a motion by Councilman Saldana to approve resolution 26-03-02R. A resolution of the City Council of the Town of Pecos City, Texas, amending the city purchasing policy to reflect updated Texas state procurement threshold to 99.999, correct? 0.00?
100,000.
100,000. Okay, providing for conflict severability and an effective date, strategic goal 6, sound governance and fiscal management. And I do believe I had a second by Councilman Graham. Correct? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. So I guess you're going to take care of the next one.
Yes, sir.
Discuss and consider resolution 26-03-03R, resolution awarding the rural utility service, broadband technical assistance, and grant implementation professional services, and authorizing the city manager to negotiate and execute contract strategic goal 7, enhance Pecos' infrastructure network. Mr. Griffin.
Mayor Pro Tem and Council, Griffin Moreland, Assistant to the City Manager. In your packet, you will find Resolution 26-03-03R. This is a resolution seeking to award a bid that we received. We actually did the RFQ process for this. It's our broadband grant that we received late 2024, early 2025 in the amount of $500,000. This RFQ was sent out about 3 weeks ago, and we did our bid opening last Friday, and over the course of this week, we scored them. We received 3 bids. One was from Bluebonnet Fiber, one was from Connected Nation, and the other one was from Viescas Research and Marketing. Those 3 bids were scored independently by 6 city staff members, and the breakdown was Bluebonnet came in 3rd place at 450 points, Viescas came in at 486 points, and Connected Nation came in first at 537 points. It is the city staff recommendation that we proceed to enter into negotiation with Connected Nation.
Is this a budgeted item?
So the 500,000 is a grant, and it's not going to be in any way city funded, so it's just pure cash for us.
Okay. Good job.
And this is for a plan.
It's a what?
It's for a plan, a broadband plan, so that we can move forward and there's other grants that will become available.
This is for that, who are they? Delcom?
Well, it's going to be something similar to that, but
Oh,
it's not doing that. It's going to be coming either with Delcom, Windstream, or trying to coordinate something that will allow us to become a connected community. It will also include the communities of Toya and Monterey, the way that the grant was written. So it's trying to get all of our area connected with broadband.
Okay.
All right. Any other discussions?
No.
I make a motion we approve Resolution 26-03-03R as presented.
I'll second.
Have a motion by myself, Councilman Lorona, and a second by Councilman Trujillo. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you, sir. F6, discuss, consider authorizing the city manager to enter into interlocal government agreement between Reeves County and the town of Pecos City for the development of a swimming pool at Bessie Haynes Park, strategic goal 4, enhance quality of life through recreation, culture, and education. Ms. Nicole Ferrini, Assistant City Manager.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. Nicole Ferrini, Assistant City Manager. Before I jump in and get started, I just want to say thank you all for the opportunity. This is my first presentation before you all tonight, so I'm just really excited.
It's a big one.
It is, and I'm going to be standing here for a few minutes because I've got 2 more items after this. So this particular item is with regard to Bessie Haynes Park and Aquatic Facility. This is a follow-on item to an item that you passed at the last City Council meeting. This is in regard to an interlocal agreement between the town of Pecos City and Reeves County. It is in relation to Goal 4, enhance quality of life through recreation, culture, and education. The specific language is to authorize the city manager to enter an interlocal agreement between the town of Pecos City and Reeves County for the development of a swimming pool at Bessie Haynes Park. The objectives of the presentation this evening are first to provide a brief overview of the Bessie Haynes Park project and planning process so that we can contextualize this request. The second is to highlight key park amenities and updates to the project plan as per the new request. We want to explain the city-county partnership framework for the aquatic facility, and we want to ultimately request council authorization to execute the interlocal agreement and ultimately advance the project. Just very quickly before I move on, this is something you're going to start to see on every presentation that we do, not just citing the goal, but really talking about why this particular item advances that goal. I think in this case, we are absolutely talking about advancing quality of life across Pecos. Within Goal 4, we talk about enhancing our park facilities and access to those park facilities, and Bessie Haynes Park is absolutely an example of advancing that particular strategic goal. Here's just a quick overview of where we have been, and for those in the public that may not be familiar with the project, Bessie Haynes Park is a 13-acre community park project located between East 11th Street, East 12th Street, Mesquite Street, and South Locust Street. In April of 2025, the City Council authorized Half Associates, this is our consultant, to prepare a conceptual master plan to guide long-term park improvements, new recreational facilities, and community gathering spaces. This was the direction from council at that time. The master plan that was ultimately adopted establishes a roadmap that transforms the site, which is currently underutilized, into a multi-use recreation destination for all residents of Pecos. It has amenities that are designed for families, youth programs, fitness, and community events. The proposed aquatic facility, developed now in partnership with Reeves County, represents a new component but fits very nicely into the broader park vision. So I'm not going to go through every item here on this timeline, but this timeline is here just so that the council may recall where we have been with this project, starting all the way back in January of 2024, when the lease agreement was signed with the school district for a large portion of Bessie Haynes Park. So as a reminder, we do not own the entirety of that park. We are leasing a large portion of it from the school district. And I'll show you exactly what those areas are in just a moment. I just want to also highlight here that in January 8th, 2026, the master plan for Bessie Haynes Park was presented by Half Associates, and this council did adopt that master plan as presented. So this is an alteration to the master plan. As I've said, it's in alignment with the original intent, but I just want to make sure that we're all clear on what we're doing tonight. So here is an image of the master plan. You all have seen this before. You saw this at the last council meeting. The project under that council adopted master plan includes a variety of amenities, and you can see those here. Everything from a fitness area there near 12th Street down at the bottom of the image, up towards an all-abilities playground. I think that addresses an earlier comment that I heard. I believe Councilwoman Trujillo, you were mentioning about really being respectful to families of all abilities. This park really does address that particular need. We also have called out here in the conceptual master plan things like pickleball courts, as well as a large pavilion for events. And you can see that on the right. Oh, also a raised performance stage and event space. Again, really trying to not just leverage the park as more open space, but really program it so that it is utilized by the community and enjoyed by everyone. You can see there in the bottom left corner, the red area that has been blocked out. This is the property, the area of the property that is being proposed for the new aquatic facility. This is more than enough space, we believe, to accommodate that facility. In addition to that, I mentioned earlier that we don't own the entirety of the property. The part that is being leased from the school district is the large open space, the open lawn, baseball, soccer, football practice area that you see there towards Mesquite Street. Does anyone have any questions about the master plan before I move forward? Okay. So this particular partnership, overall park development before the introduction of the aquatic facility has been estimated at a $13 to $15 million cost. Again, that's based on the conceptual master plan, so that is an estimated cost. The proposed partnership will allow for the development of the park to move ahead significantly more quickly than it would have otherwise without this partnership. The partnership right now exists, or would exist, between the town of Pecos City, Reeves County, and then also the town of Pecos City and the school district, as I already mentioned. The roles are defined here on the right. Our responsibility is partial site ownership, identified as Bessie Haynes Park. We will be doing a long-term land lease specific to the aquatic facility with the county, but we will be responsible for operation and maintenance of the park space. So in terms of what Reeves County would be responsible for, they would be responsible for funding the development of the park and the aquatic facility. I want to point out again that that $13 to $15 million range does not include the aquatic facility. So what Reeves County is committing to at this time is to be responsible for the funding of both the park plus the aquatic facility. And at this time, as it already sits in an arranged agreement, is that the school district has ownership of that part of the site I mentioned, and we have a long-term land lease with them. And so the reason I point out that sort of three-tiered agreement structure, that partnership, is that it's very important to understand that we're working across multiple entities, not just the city and the county, but also the school district. The terms of the agreement as proposed to the county commissioners this past Monday is included in the attachments to your agenda item. We wanted to make sure that the council had in their hand exactly what the county commissioners had in their hand this past Monday. What you're seeing here on the screen on the left are the original terms as proposed. That's what's in your packet. Following the meeting on Monday, our city manager, Mr. Lino, attended that meeting and was able to have a conversation with the commissioners. And so what you see on the right in kind of a rusty red color is the only portion of the terms that you have that have been modified. You can see here that originally we were discussing $6.5 million in improvements for the park from the county. And now what we're talking about is the full $15 million in improvements consistent with the master plan as adopted on January 8th. The requested action this evening, and you'll notice that I have a bolded item there, authorize the city manager to finalize negotiations and enter into an interlocal agreement between the town of Pecos City and Reeves County for the development of a swimming pool at Bessie Haynes Park. The reason we've added the finalized negotiations piece is that we want the opportunity to go back to the Commissioners Court and finalize terms of the agreement and make sure that we are all satisfied. If there are substantial changes to the terms of the agreement based on what I presented to you tonight, we will obviously bring that back to the council. But we need a little bit of room to go back to the county and be able to finalize the agreement before we execute. I'm happy to take any questions you might have at this time.
On the previous slide, you had 5 years to start. Why that?
We want to make sure in the terms of the agreement that the county begins the pool project within 5 years of executing this agreement. We look for it to happen more quickly than that, but we want to make sure that if we move beyond 5 years, that would breach the agreement and change the commitments on either side.
Well, what if we put 3 years?
Yeah.
I think if that's the direction of the council, that's part of why we're asking for that ability to negotiate with the county. If you would like them to begin within 3 years, what we're asking here, and I think it's an important clarification, doesn't have to be finished, but we're asking them to start. So if your direction is that we negotiate 3 years instead of 5 years, I don't think that that's a problem unless there's an objection.
When we had the park plans introduced, Councilman Carrasco asked, can we expedite it further than starting next year? Why not start this year? That makes sense. Yeah, 2 years would be more.
And I can tell you, it's the intent of the Commissioners Court, especially on the pool, and if we can modify this and get it changed and come to an agreement on the entire facility park, that Commissioner Hinojos was very excited because he said this would be an example of exactly what the 2x6 and the cooperation between entities can get done. With that being said, Commissioner Moore would like to still have her pool by June. It's not going to happen. But I can tell you that if we put a 6-month number on there, we would still, the county's probably still going to beat it. So I think if we minimize that, this is going to be more just a formality than anything else. They're not going to miss that deadline. They have the funds allocated already to do it. So that's why I make that comment.
Correct. We're just trying to protect ourselves legally at the far end of it.
But that's good. Well, I know Commissioner Moore is very adamant about getting this going. And then with the help of Mr. Carrasco, pushes our project a little bit more to get it going, and the agreements that he was able to attend for us or get us with this help. You know, I don't know. 5 years is too long. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. And on the lease agreement for the 20 years, is that in writing?
Yes.
And it's already written, so
Correct.
nothing can happen if something happens to somebody.
Once we execute the agreement, yes, sir.
And actually, the commissioners are asking that be almost unlimited. That's something that is going to have to be negotiated, because I can tell you they asked me for 99 years.
I would rather have that, because that would keep from any council or any school board or any commissioner coming and say, you know what, I don't like this deal, let's cancel.
Yeah, and that's why I'm bringing that up, because as people change, as we go out and different people that they have their own ideas.
Sure.
So this is something that we want, and we wanted a pool. Here it is. So I like it. I really like it, and I think we need to push it forward.
And I appreciate your comments, and what I will just say as a whole is that I think staff put together these terms in the best interest of the town of Pecos City. The reason for the 20 years is simply, in the event that a future council would like to see a different use. I think we're trying to give future councils as much flexibility as possible. But again, as Mr. Lino mentioned, we're still negotiating that particular piece of the term with the county. But just so that you all know, staff has put this together in the best interest of this council and the town of Pecos City.
Well, like the gentleman with the fireworks stand, he said we passed an ordinance giving him every 10 years a guarantee of coming in and renewing it another 10 years.
Correct.
So why can't we do that with this one?
We can.
Another 20 years is.
We can.
And we need the green space.
Correct.
Is what we need.
Correct.
The quality of life, especially on the east side.
That's correct.
That's true. So, what do you think? Give them a year to get started?
Let's do it.
I think we can put 2 in there if you all want to reduce it to 2, because they will beat that timeline.
And I think Ms. Moore, along with Councilman Carrasco, will probably be pushing that to get it
For 6
going.
months.
That's Ms. Moore's biggest golden carrot that she wants to attain
Yes.
and accomplish.
Well, and again, it's one of the issues, and the judge and Commissioner Hinojos were not fond of the $6.5 million, okay? And that's where the judge said, if we're gonna do something, because he asked me about our funding, and I said, we can do it in phases. We can't do all of it. I'd have to go borrow money if we're gonna do. And he said, well, we can do it all, but we have to come to an agreement. And initially, the judge said, well, just kick the city out, and this will be a county park. But Commissioner Hinojos came back and said, no, this needs to be something in a collaborative effort, because the city has the expertise on running the parks. We'll use our rec center to be the expertise on running the pool, and this is the first example of truly a collaboration between the taxing entities.
Have they gotten as far as gotten an architect to come in or engineers to put it?
They gotta know where the pool, what piece of size of land they have to
I
have.
thought we had kind of
So they,
agreed.
I apologize, sir. They have put out an RFQ for those services. They've not procured yet. I think that, to Mr. Lino's point there, we're still confirming how much land they actually need. What we can verify is that the amount of land that we've identified here is more than enough for a common-sized community pool. We've done the best practice research, and so this is actually more than enough space for that. But as they bring someone on, we'll continue to work with them. But we feel like these are the maximum limits of what would be needed for that. And I apologize, sir, if I interrupted.
No, you're good.
I'd like to thank the county commissioners for standing behind Commissioner Moore and believing in her vision in creating this and collaborating the effort together, and them jumping on board. One thing, I know you said this park was going to cost $14 million. You mentioned the judge said they'll take it on head on. What is it? He wants to pay the whole park?
Yes, sir.
Correct.
He says he thinks the county can make it happen quicker, because I voiced my concern that I did to you, to Commissioner Moore, that, if we, as a council and as a city, okay, just the pool piece of it, without the other piece coming into play, we're gonna be the redheaded stepchild, the bad guy again, because the county can move at a much quicker pace than we can with their reserves. So it would take us 13 to 15 million to do that. It's going to take us several years to get that done. The county may be able to do it in an expedited manner, and that's the main reason why I think the judge threw that out.
So we were going to have a $13 million park. Why not, now if they're saying they're going to do that, why not shift that $13 million and fund it towards the Maxi Park and get it all out of the way? I mean, you could finally develop the whole park in that area and utilize that money that you saved and move it over there. I mean,
it would be over several years. It's not going to be immediate. So that 13 million would not have been immediate. It's going to be over several years. We'd have to do fine.
But still, why not us get a debt there and shift our focus to our park?
We could.
And if I may, sir, I think that we're hearing this feedback. I think that it would be a privilege for staff to be able to go back and take a look at what the future of our park should be. That is embedded in our strategic plan, and it's something that staff has been working on, and Bessie Haynes was to be the flagship of that. And so I think that we could, with Mr. Lino's approval, work on a plan that started to address some of those needs and bring it back to the council fully fleshed out and compared to best practice in other cities.
You know, I kind of like what, you know, that the county wants to take on it. But I also like the idea of working together.
Correct.
And I think because it can just open the future for something else. That's just my thought. Because, you know, we were playing in the park to begin with. But if it's gonna, and that's what I don't like, it takes years for the city to move. And we need to, I don't know if it's because the way the laws are written and all that, but other entities move whenever they want to. Why can't we?
Money?
Yes.
Well, yeah, I hear that, but some of this is because even if let's say the county takes this one, because they're the ones that proposed all this because of the park, because of the swimming pool. Because we already had the plan, right? We already paid for the plan.
Correct.
And then the county said, okay, we want a pool because of Commissioner Moore, which we wanted a pool, according to the, you know, the emails and all that came through. But we didn't put it in a master plan. But now here we have it, and if we keep going back and forth, here we're pushing it further and further away. Either we step on this one and take it the way it was proposed, or we decide to give it to them, and then years later, we're gonna be building Mexi Park. We still have Mexi Park looking like what it looks like.
Yeah, and I don't want to get in trouble for getting off the agenda here, but that all of it comes to the frustration. You know, Councilwoman Trujillo brought up the fact, I used to coach, and I used to see those dilapidated fields, and it would be very frustrating, but yet we couldn't practice on the Cyclone because we weren't allowed to. So this is long overdue, and I'm sorry. I mean, those parks have been there for 40 years.
Yeah.
And if we can't find somebody that doesn't want to move, like a developer, then find another one.
Correct.
Because ideally, we're kind of, you know, borrowing money from this one to build that one, and it helps a lot of collaborate. I mean, these poor kids are practicing on dilapidated fields with gopher holes. They're not, you know, and they need more.
And no swimming pool.
Safety hazard.
Safety hazard. So I know I'm getting off the agenda, but that's where it all comes to where we're going to wait another 8 years to build Maxi Park. I mean, I'm already 48 years old. Excuse me. I used to play there when I was a kid, and it still looks the same. So
I think we're hearing the directive loud and clear.
I'm going to put my 2 cents in it. You're not thinking of, you know, we're fixing to have a boom here, possibly. And how does our infrastructure look like? You know, we can't even take care of the roads according to the people that came in from the annexation. We need to put some money over there too.
Yes, sir.
You know, we need a plan or a study. You know what do we need to do about the infrastructure?
Yes, sir.
Our water and sewer, our roads and stuff. We want to make Pecos look good, and we want to be ready for this if this boom does materialize.
But I would say
to get back to the
Yes.
deal, we need to get back to the motion here.
You're absolutely right. The last thing that I will say, sir, is that if we'll all put a pin in that part of it quickly, I have a presentation at the end of this council agenda. I'll be addressing some of those concerns.
Any other questions, comments? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion by Councilman Graham,
I'll second.
second by Councilman Carrasco. All those to approve authorizing the city manager to enter an interlocal government agreement between Breeze County and the town of Pecos City for the development of a swimming pool at Bessie Haynes Park. As part of strategic goal 4, enhance quality of life through recreation, culture, and education, is presented by Nicole Ferrini, Assistant City Manager. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Go on to F7, discuss, review, report from staff regarding code enforcement activity for the past 6 months, including number of complaints received, violations issued, compliance rates, outstanding cases. Strategic goal 2, safe and secure city. Nicole Ferrini, Assistant City Manager.
Thank you so much, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. Again, for the record, Nicole Ferrini, Assistant City Manager. I told you all that we're going to be standing here for a minute. So I'm pleased this evening to present to you a code enforcement and animal control update. Notice that it says code enforcement and animal control. We will be presenting these two items, I believe it's F7 and F8, as companion items. They're still posted separately on the agenda, but Chief Tarango and I will be presenting these together in tandem because they are so closely related, both under Goal 2, Safe and Secure City.
Well, thank you, that we can eliminate one.
Yes, sir. I heard you loud and clear when you said you wanted us to get through things. So, Goal 2, Safe and Secure City, I think one of the things that's very important about this particular goal is that it's about advancing public safety in Pecos through coordinated investments in facilities, equipment, community engagement, and proactive enforcement strategies. So enforcement strategies are but one piece of that larger puzzle that creates a safe and secure city. Our objectives tonight are to, number one, provide a brief overview of code enforcement and animal control, looking at processes, policies, and procedures. Second, to review the highlights of enforcement activity in both areas over the last 6 months. Number three, to highlight animal control enforcement approach alongside animal shelter activity. Also to introduce a solution to some of the challenges that we will be presenting tonight. And I will say right before I get into any further of this presentation that I will be presenting some challenges tonight. We're going to introduce a cross-functional improvement initiative, which I will explain in later slides. And ultimately, we'd like to receive council feedback and identify next steps in order to enact some of the solutions we'll be talking about this evening. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Chief Tarango and allow her to talk about animal control. Chief?
Mayor, Council, Lisa Tarango, Chief of Police. So obviously I've been here more than once to discuss animal control. So obviously, again, I can't say enough about our animal control officers, especially one, the supervisor that continues to stick with the program. You'll be glad to know that we're up to 3 animal control, and we have the 4th one in background at this moment. So hopefully that additional person is going to just add more to what we have going on. So obviously, animal control supports public safety and responsible pet owners and humane care of animals within our community. We continue to find different avenues to support the community and the citizens in being responsible pet owners. The department balances the enforcement with education and compliance efforts, using our shelter operations, partnerships, and community programs to address animals at large, reduce repeat violations while improving overall animal management in the city. Another collaborative effort that we've done with the county is the spay and neuter clinics that the city originally sponsored the first one. And you'll be glad to know, in collaboration with the county, the second one was sponsored in November, which had a huge outcome. And it's not just city animals, it's city and county, and it's not just the spay and neuter. There's some minor medical stuff, rabies vaccinations, different vaccinations given at these, and they saw over 119 animals at the last one. Those numbers are going to become important the further I talk with you tonight. So animals at large frequently cannot be traced to an owner. In the past 6 months, we've had 488 animal complaints. Half of those, 242, were animals at large. Only 32 of those animals at large were claimed. So that gives you a big number of why we have so many animals going through our shelter. They cannot be traced to the owner, therefore we end up with them inside the shelter. The staff are currently exploring potential microchipping ordinance. I know we've come to you with the microchipping ordinance before. We want to see about making one mandatory. In other words, to have an animal in the city needs to be microchipped. Right now and in the past, we've done just animal registration. That's almost a thing of the past. With the chipping program, the animal control officers are able to scan those chips, immediately find the owner of the animals and get them returned. We want to be able to improve the owner identification and provide the accountability needed for the animals at large. It's real easy for somebody to say, "It's not my dog," when the animal control officers get there, although they may have sped it on their front yard for the past 6 months. In the ordinance, it does show if you feed it 3 days or more, it's yours. But when the animal control gets there, it's not mine. Animal control prioritizes voluntary compliance when possible. You all have heard our process where we try to help people through, proper animal ownership. We provide not only dog houses, dog food, because it gets donated to us. So when we have an animal owner who can't even afford the food, Christy's able to provide that. If you followed her Facebook during the last freeze, and you continue to see her restock not only blankets, dog houses, dog food, she did that. Her people came out on call to continue to restock those supplies. So first violations, typically we do give them a warning. Many times it's a verbal warning. They'll tell you there are problems, whether it's the fencing, the housing, the tethering, the dog got loose. We give them an opportunity to address the issues initially. Because we feel giving them a $500 fine, that's not going to help the issue, and furthermore, it's going to compact the issue. If it's more than once that we deal with them, there's repeat violations that happen, then we start to issue the citations. Many times those folks will pay the citation and the revolving door starts all over again. Either that or they go sit it out in city jail. They don't have the money to pay. It's not unusual for them to come and sit it out for 5 days, 10 days, depending on how long and how many of those violations they do have. Our staffing has expanded. Obviously, you guys have given us the okay to continue to hire animal control officers. Initially, that was a big ask for me, because I'm like, how do I continue to ask for more animal control staffing when I have more staffing this way, but a building that's getting smaller as it goes? One additional officer joined in July 2025, completed certification in October of 2025. And actually, we had hired 2 during that time. But the city decided they wanted one of them because he was a certified building official. So instead of keeping him and being stingy and keeping him in animal control, we released him to join code enforcement. A 3rd officer just began February 2026. She is on her 3rd week of training. In reality, we share her with Cyclone Ballparks. She's one of the cooks that works in the concession stand. She's amazing.
Double duty.
Yeah, so we just hired her in February and doing great. And like I said, we have the 4th one going through background as we speak. Recently, Christy was able, myself and her wrote a grant. It's called the Rachel Ray No Kill Excellence Grant. We put in for $50,000, but we scored $20,000. We're very grateful for that. It's to support our animal service operations. And that's not including some of the other donations that Animal Control is able to get over the years. The community spay and neuter efforts, I believe, are going to continue with the partnerships. Again, the recent no-cost clinic that was funded, another 120 animals that were at least chipped before they left that operation. Over the past 6 months, Animal Control has managed a steady intake of animals, as you all know. You can see on the screen that while working to place these animals as many as possible through adoption, owner reclamation, Mr. Roney, you've even gotten one of those dogs through adoption, amazingly, and transfers to these rescue partners. When I first started visiting with Nicole about our rescue partners, I was able to name maybe a handful. By the time we were done, I was able to name 20. 20, that's just me. Christy, I'm sure, has a million others. They even go as far as Canada. I know a few dogs that I get pictures with. They're in Toronto enjoying their best life. So while some of the euthanasia and deaths do occur due to illnesses, behavior issues, there's some that are just downright mean. You can't rehab them after we've tried. We have no other options. And there's feral pack management. A lot of you have seen what Christy does with that. Cats are probably the biggest thing. Ranchers and farmers, they want cats. We get them spayed and neutered, we get them fixed, we get them all their shots. We donate them all to the farms and ranching community. The overall activity in front of you reflects ongoing efforts to prioritize the humane outcome and responsible shelter operations. When I say responsible shelter operations, we're working with a very small animal shelter. And to be able to move those animals, locate, foster, and adoptions even within our own community, to hold them at least until they can get on a plane in the middle of the night at the Pecos airport, it takes a lot of work with these ladies. So you can see the numbers. About a year ago, we were deemed a no-kill shelter. It took a lot of work to get that done. And Christy at times has been a one-woman show. Every time we try to rebuild animal control again, we lose the animal control officers to other jobs, sometimes oil field, sometimes moving, sometimes medical. Those have been the past 3 reasons. So are you guys able to see these numbers, kind of get an idea of where we're at? So you can notice that a lot of the reclaimed ones, those are your low numbers. Those are the ones we pick up, we're able to identify the owner and get them back. The majority, you can see, are adopting or transfers. So we recently developed a collaborative effort with Austin Pets Alive and Best Friends Animal Society. That agreement just got made between our animal shelter and those. And what it is, they agree to take 150 animals per year, with 100 of those being dogs, has to be. So I think that's a pretty good, at least try to work with some of the numbers that we do have. So any questions or thoughts on animal control?
No, just, last Saturday I was at AutoZone, and there was a beautiful little puppy, half blue heeler, beautiful. Had a collar, and following me around, and I called Cindy and I said, hey, I'm gonna send you a picture. And the answer is no. Oh, that's the wrong thing. Anyway, the manager came on and said, you want a dog? I said, I already got 2 at Cape, I can't have another one, but he was so gorgeous. And I called Christy, and she answered the phone.
Sure she does.
At rehab. She
Yes.
said rehab. And she answered, and she was gonna go pick it up the next day, but luckily the owner was 3 hours away west of Pecos, realized that one of her puppies was missing, so she turned around and came and got her.
Oh my.
But they talk about letting the public know about things about Pecos. Well, the animal shelter needs to be congratulated, and I did tell that manager that at AutoZone that we're a no-kill.
That's right.
Because she said, no, don't call them, because they're going to come get them, they're going to come. I said, no, we're a no-kill zone. I didn't know that. I said, they ship them from all over the United States and all Canada, wherever our lady, our humane officer, supervisor, she has a lot of connections to where these dogs are not killed. And unless, like you said, bad behavior or injured or whatever the case may be, then I said, we tried, they tried, and she keeps that rating pretty low.
She does, and that's a standard that we've set. I've come to you several times saying, do we want to be animal control or do we want to be a rescue? Because right now we're kind of a hybrid.
Mm-hmm.
Going forward in the future, and that's why we've come to you with the need for more animal control. And I said, we could put 10 animal control if we don't have space to put these animals in the future. What are we doing? And the sheriff and I quite often argue over whose dogs they are the county dogs or the city dogs. Because he says our city dogs go to the county. I say the county dogs are coming to the city. You can see by these numbers.
Card, doesn't
Unfortunately, no. And so it's, standards that we've put into place, although maybe not written standards, and Christy herself she puts all this on herself because this is a project that she's taken on. And just so you know, there is a healer rescue organization that she deals with for, cow dogs and that kind of stuff. It's amazing to see the resources.
It really is, and I requested this to be put on the agenda tonight, not as what are you guys doing wrong, as informative, because I get a lot of calls and text messages. There's so many animals out. Where's animal control? Where's animal control? Super busy and trying to find homes for these pets that the numbers show that they're not claimed. So I think people need to understand that. Again, we've talked about it so many times about being responsible pet owners and giving them options and opportunities to neuter, spay, microchip their animals so that we can get them home. So it was just for information, and so
Sure.
I thank you. Thank you for what you do, and Christy and her staff at the shelter. It's amazing, and I keep up with the Facebook page and all of the transports, and it's incredible, really, the resources she has and how she coordinates with everybody to get
the
them
one this
homes.
week that was like at 3 a.m, Christy, and you see the picture of her on the tarmac of the airport loading up dogs into a plane. When she first presented that idea to me, I was absolutely shocked. But dog is my co-pilot is what it's called, and that's exactly what it is. That plane is full of crates, and we were very thankful that that group decided they were going to land in Pecos and help that situation. I was there the first time the first dog went on, and it was a little emotional. Christy cried. She's very invested. And I appreciate Ms. Rooney inquiring with me on how it works with animal control, and I think she sees like I do, this is a moment to educate the community on, here's what we do. Yes, you're going to still probably see some dogs that are stray. Call us, please. You know, we want to get them back to the owners if we can, and if we can't, like you said, it's a no-kill shelter. Unless, and even the bad behavior ones, sometimes once you get them out of a bad environment, Christy's able to rehab them. You know, they have the shelter dog Lucky that if you can make it through Lucky, you're going to be fine. And it's just kind of one of those deals where she has the opportunity to rehab them, whether it's in our Sally Port or the volunteers that she has that go walk them.
Well, Chief, what kind of food do you, would be good to bring to donate, for people that are wanting to know to
Sure.
donate? What?
I know she accepts, you know, whatever the donation. Tractor Supply is really good whenever they're taking out like some old brands and putting in new brands. To say that we're picky, we're not. I know the Old Roy one is not the best for dogs because it really upsets the stomach. But I know I've seen a lot of pedigree. I've seen those types that are there.
Can it be moist dog food, or does Chrissy prefer dry dog food just for the?
You know, I guess for puppies, you get the puppy food, the little cans, and then the other. She's not picky, like I said, because she shares it with the community. It doesn't all have to stay within our shelter. When people reach out to her that, hey, I'm a little short on money, she provides it. She provides it, and there's no judgment there, whether she leaves it on the front door of the animal shelters where they don't want you to see who they are, or she'll take it to your house. So, but we really appreciate that. I know that Home 2 Suites this week has donated all their linens that they're getting rid of, because yearly they redo that. Linens, towels, pillows, stuff like that, and it goes straight into the shelter. Because none of these dogs are kept on the slab. You know, they even have little dog beds and they get up off the slab. It's really, if you've not experienced our shelter, it's quite the operation.
Yeah, it is.
It is, it
really is.
When I picked up my adopted one that passed away a while back.
Oh no, I'm sorry to hear that.
We cremated her, we got her in a little
Sure,
house.
sure.
But
And we've tried to make it, if not free, at least affordable to people who can't afford the shots or the spay or neuter. Because a lot of times she'll say, can you pay something? Well, I could pay $20. Okay, I'll pay the rest. And our donations and the people that have been donating to it and the grants that we've received has allowed that operation to continue. I just hope it continues on. And you all know that I've come to you many times just amazed at really how fanatical animal people are when it comes to animals. And it's been a good operation, whether it's doing stuff at Cyclone, you've seen pictures Christy's taken there, to Santa Paws or whatever it is where they take pictures with the Santa Claus. It's shocking, you know, but she's made quite the effort to not only grow the program, but keep it sustainable.
Chief, I have some questions.
Yes, sir.
You know, based upon my input from the citizens on my end, I'll speak for myself.
Yes, sir.
They feel like we're chasing our tails with this kind of stuff, and I guess my question is for them to hear now and help them understand. What is the biggest challenges that you're facing right now, such as finding the right staff, housing, a new shelter? What's Plan B, and what can we do to help moving forward? Because what I get most messages about is dogs and how dirty our town is every day. And what's the plan? What do we need to get to? I mean, we hear about this, but where are we incorporating a new dog shelter with the police department? And what are we doing for Plan B if we don't have employees? Are we creating future housing for these employees to face these challenges so that we can find departments that are in need? I mean, are we recruiting other animal control from Monahans and Fort Stockton, paying more than they make over there? I mean, where's the disconnect?
So I would say our biggest issue probably is the size of the shelter. Myself and Mr. Lino, of course, with building a new police department, the shelter's going to have to come too. It can't stay on that piece of property. With that, we've discussed the increase in size, which, like you're saying, that's going to be the increase in employees. And we have good times and bad when it comes to the recruiting side. Sometimes we just get tons of applicants, and sometimes it's dry. Nobody's applying. Now, these animal people, they're a different breed, for a better choice of word. They have to be passionate about the job. It can't just be a job, because there's a lot of emotions and care that go in with dealing with animals. The city has provided city housing in the past, which I'm glad to say animal control is part of being able to stay at that housing. It would be great if we could get more city housing, because that is a huge recruiting tool for any aspect for the police department, whether it's PD, CJC, or animal control. And in fact, we interviewed a lady today, and she was just shocked that there's an ability possibly to get on the list. But our list is kind of full, you know. I can't put everybody in city housing in the beginning. Has it caused us to lose some people? Yes, sir, it has. You know, because the cost of living here it's hard. It's really hard, you know. And talking with Mr. Lino and with Deandra, this coming budget, we have to look at salary strategies to be able to recruit more people and recruit the right people. Because getting the wrong people, we've done in the past, and it's nothing but future lawsuits or problems within the agency. So we have to make sure we get the right person. And in doing that, our backgrounds are lengthy because it is a security level position, minus animal control. But the rest, it takes time. And to get into our agency, it's not easy, but once you get in there, I can guarantee you as the head of this agency, you've got a good employee. And they're gonna work hard for you. And so city housing would be freaking amazing. You know, even if it was like the modular homes or that type of stuff.
Put it on next agenda.
I would love that, you know, and if you get a chance, I would even love to show you what we already have that we're using. Even people that just want to come in and work their days and then go home, majority from El Paso. We have a single housing unit where single people live in a single room.
Tiny homes.
Yeah, maybe, you know, and
Well, the county still has those trailers at the prison, right?
yes, sir, they do.
Are they using them?
I have no idea. From what I see, just a few vehicles are there, but I don't know what their plan
It's
is.
funny that you asked that. They actually talked to Commissioner Moore about that, and they're leasing them out to troopers right now. But you have those little tiny ones off of Stafford, if I'm correct. That's something we might want to look into. That been sitting there for a year, I think. Kind of, they're real small ones. I don't know if you've seen them on Stafford.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe that would help.
Sure, the Iron Guard housing, I think,
Yeah,
has
something like
that one.
Yeah.
And so they have sat kind of dormant for a little bit.
Yes.
We did look at those initially when we asked about the cost. It was just like all the other rent here in Pecos. There was no negotiation. And it's interesting to hear that they're renting to troopers, because I know at one point Target Logistic, just as to have an officer on scene or on their property, was allowing troopers to stay at their housing as well as a discounted rate. Because Mr. Lino and I have even negotiated a little bit on, can we do that? You know, but more and more I want to recruit like families. I want that not only the employee, but bring your family. And we've been very blessed that a lot of them have done that. But there's some that do still have a mortgage, say back in El Paso, that they want to keep that house too, whether kids are in school or their house is paid for or whatever it may be. But
Well, if you can, as a friend of mine used to tell me when we were recruiting people for Texas, New Mexico, if you can court the wife and get the wife to be happy,
Yes.
a happy worker.
yes. And you know, and I'll go back to the lady that interviewed with us today. All she saw Pecos was just a peek off the interstate. I said, why don't you come and drive around? Let me tell you, when she did, she was mildly impressed. It's not an ugly town. There's a whole lot more to it. And there's a lot of pride here that people don't realize.
Yes, there is.
And it takes a whole lot of people to keep it clean, not just a small group. You know, and I'm very fortunate that Ms. Freeney and I have had some of those discussions as well. And she's going to tie it in a little bit more through code enforcement and where we are, because unfortunate, you can't develop a code enforcement overnight. And it keeps getting restarted and regenerated again and again. And to rebuild that, that's not easy. It's almost like an internship that person has to do for a year before they can even sit for a test. So, and like with animal control, we're starting to look for where's the next basic animal control training. They're not local. Fortunate for us, we found one in Midland back in October, and we got the latest, well, the one before her. So Arlington is kind of the place they have to go. But myself and Captain Davis, quite often we look at how can we host these trainings. So you're going to see a lot of trainings coming through, not only for, say, animal control or CJC, but some big ones for the PD, where they've asked, can we house 150 people? I don't have a big enough space to do that, but we could. We could host those trainings. So, any other questions you have for me? Mr. Crosby, I appreciate you asking that, because that means a lot. When you consider what we need, what we really need. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Chief, thank you so much. And I actually want to express an additional thank you, because you've been one of the people that's welcomed me the most warmly, and so thank you so much. Chief was fantastic, and when this request came in, I was quite nervous because there's a lot to put our arms around, but in sitting down, it's part of why we decided to put these items together, because what we recognize is that what we're talking about here is safe and secure city, but also visual image of Pecos. And so in partnering right from the get-go between her folks and the folks that will be ultimately reporting to me, we knew that we could start this effort right. So I appreciate that setup, and I'm glad that you all are happy about animal control, because I'm about to share some information that is going to be challenging. And one of the things that I've said to those of you that I've had the opportunity to sit down with is that as your assistant city manager, I am not always going to say things that you want to hear. But what I can guarantee is that you are always going to hear 100% the truth, and you're always going to hear potential solutions from this direction. And so that's what I'm really here to do tonight. The process that's shown here on the screen is, it represents a high level, I say approximation of how code compliance concerns are currently addressed. It was very important to me over the last several days, not just speaking directly with the folks in code compliance, which I want to remind everyone that we have 3 individuals, and that's it. We have at least 2 major vacancies in that department, and there's a lot to do in terms of training and certification and testing, et cetera, which I will get into. But I spoke with the 3 individuals that we do have in code compliance. I spoke with the chief. I spent a significant amount of time with the judge and the ladies in municipal court. I spent a significant amount of time with the building inspectors and with permits. I spent a significant amount of time speaking to everyone in this building that would speak to me. Everyone spoke to me, it was really fine. But that would really talk to me about what do we really do? How does this process really work? Not in the book, not in abstract, but in reality. And so that's what you see here. What I will say is that every single one of these boxes that you see on the screen could be expanded into about 25 more boxes. Okay, so that there's an extremely large and arduous process that exists right now, and the biggest challenge is that it is inconsistent, it's inconsistently applied, and it's inconsistently understood. That's the number one challenge right out the gate. But let me walk you through it, because it is being applied, and we are doing work, and I think that's the other thing that I want to make sure I state unequivocally, is that the team in this building works extremely hard, and they take pride in their work, and they deserve credit for that, but they are doing it under incredibly complicated conditions. And so I just think that that's important to say. So step 1, a complaint is received. Well, how is a complaint received? Well, I'm going to tell you that it comes in about 25 different ways. Usually comes in with a phone call to someone in this building. Technically, it should come straight through the permits office. That's the front line of defense for those kinds of inquiries from the public. But I'm going to tell you it doesn't come in that way consistently. It comes in a call from one of y'all. It comes in a call from a constituent to Mr. Lino, to myself, to the chief, probably to half a dozen people in this room. So the complaints, the concerns are coming in from everywhere. They are then hand-walked and or emailed and verbally conveyed to 3 code compliance officers. You all can already see that there's huge opportunity for gaps in that system and for complaints to fall off, right? Through no fault of any one individual, but rather an inefficiency in the process itself. The intake process, once that complaint is received, it's actually logged individually by those code compliance officers. Each one of them is assigned a different territory across the city. And so that's how they get deployed, if you will, is by area. But at the end of the day, they're handling that intake in a paper process, okay? It gets in, like I said, assigned by area. It's added to a list of current assignments that they already have, again, tracking in a paper process and or an email process. Okay, so again, big opportunity there for things to fall through the cracks. At that point, an inspection will occur in order that it is received, unless, and this is another big red flag that I'm going to present to you all this evening, is that there is no prioritization process that is codified, right? Priority is who called or how many times have they called, but it's inconsistently applied. And so I think one of the things that our code officers really need is a codified prioritization process. When they get a half a dozen calls, well, which one are they supposed to do first? Well, I can tell you from past experience that if that concern is threatening public safety or public health, that has to be priority number one. It has to pop to the top of the list. If we're seeing a similar complaint come in over and over and over again, we need to reprioritize that particular piece. But we need to not do that organically. So in essence, the inspection occurs, a courtesy notice will be left. After about 10 days, and again, this is a little bit inconsistent, but after approximately 10 days, there will be a return. And at that point, if the issue has not been resolved, a notice of violation or a door notice will be left. Based on the nature of that violation, a timeline is set for how long before we're going to take further action, right? And that varies from violation to violation. Right now, from what I can track, there are 45 distinct code enforcement violations on the books. And so, again, they all vary. Some are 30 days, some are shorter than that, 10 days. It varies. Again, I think it's something we need to create some clarity around. Once that timeline has expired, that will trigger us to send a certified letter offering that individual or that entity an opportunity to cure, meaning an opportunity, we're saying this is an official notification, you have an opportunity to fix that. But beyond the certified letter, a violation is issued along with a summons to appear in court. This is the time at which this transfers over to the municipal court and gets onto that docket, okay? At that point, and I'm skipping over several steps that are unclear at this time when it moves from that notice to the court, okay? This is something in a moment when I tell you how we're going to unpack all of this, it'll make more sense. At that point, once someone is in court, technically they would make a plea, right? They would say, okay, I cleaned it up, I'm not guilty, etc. And Parker can jump in here and correct me if I'm using incorrect legal language, but I'm trying to simplify the process so that we can all understand. But at that point, they can either show that they've complied, I've cleaned up my weeds, I've done all I've needed to do, and you can close the case. You can dismiss the case at that point, or they will pay the citation. Now, there's a couple of other avenues, a couple of other directions that can go that are not so good, not either for us and or the person in question. But this is, in essence, a hyper-simplified version of the process, and as you can see, it's not all that simple. Okay, so that's what's going on right now. Here's another issue that we've uncovered. And this is, I think, something that we can relatively easily remedy, but it's part of the reason, Councilwoman Trujillo, that I did not submit a report to you as part of the agenda packet. What I found is that we have currently 4 separate and completely distinct and divorced from each other ways of tracking violations, not just issued, but closed and remaining. And then there's a number of other steps in there that are tracked. 4 separate tracking pieces. And what you see here is a breakdown of what those 4 systems look like currently, right? So the first 2 are software that have been used at various times in the past. One being used in one department, one being used in another. The first tracking software tracks all 45 categories of violations over time, listing new tasks, resolution status, and type of resolution, which I think is very important. We want to understand not just that it was closed, but how was it closed out, as well as active status from prior to September 2025. So those are the biggest numbers, right? Violations issued, which include violations that were standing in September 2025. I was asked for the last 6 months, and that's why September. But existing violations plus new violations that were issued, just over 1,500. 171 in that system were tracked as closed, leaving approximately 1,400, just under 1,400 violations remaining. That is in one software. I cannot validate that number, okay? I'm sharing this with you so that you all understand the extent of what we're working on. System B is also a separate piece of software. This one is only tracking about 9 categories of violations as far as I can see. Over time, listing inspection status as passed or pending, right? So you can see here a challenge already in trying to reconcile these numbers. I don't even have the same categories, and so it's difficult for me to come in and take a look at this and say, well, what is really happening here? But that system, which I believe is the system that had been being used for the past 6 or 7 months or so, with someone who's no longer here, this was her preferred software. And so I think that this one, I can say was being actively used by that individual in the reports that you all may have seen in that amount of time. Okay, so these last reports you would have seen would have come from this software. So this one shows, as of today, 350 violations issued only in the last 6 months. This does not include prior to that. 174 closed and 176 remaining. The third system that I was able to take a look at in the time frame that I had was the system that the municipal court is looking. And this is where I worked very closely with the judge and her staff to be able to try to understand what's happening once it hits municipal court. This system is tracking violations only that have escalated to that point. So they're not tracking the violations that haven't come to their desk yet, if you will. And so that system is showing 317 violations issued in the last 6 months, 106 of them closed, and 211 of them remaining. Those are all pending in the court now. And then finally, the final one, and oddly enough, I have to tell you that this is the one that I can actually verify most easily, which sounds counterintuitive because it's the hand-tracked one. The reason I can verify this is because I can verify this in speaking to my code enforcement staff, and I'm looking at their handwritten logs. Okay, so it's a little bit old school, but I can tell you honestly, it's the one that I can really unpack the easiest. That is being used by these officials in the field, as I mentioned earlier. 150 violations issued in the last 6 months, as per their hand logs. 108 of those closed, and 42 of them remaining open as of today. So all of that to say that I really, at this moment in time tonight, cannot give you what I think is 100% accurate and confident number of what is pending. Now let me tell you, this is going to indicate a little bit of the kind of manager that I like to be. This is exciting. I'll tell you why. It's exciting because this is a tremendous opportunity for improvement. What I see here is 3 separate tracking systems that are going to require us to roll up our sleeves and all of us get together in a room and unpack this thing, right? And when we come back to you, we're going to have a good number. But at least now we understand where the problems in the process are and where the problems in the system. We actually know that there's 4 different systems being used, and that is progress. So our opportunity here is to standardize enforcement workflow, align system usage across all teams. I can tell you, because code enforcement will be in my portfolio, that we will be aligning on a singular software. I can't tell you tonight what that's going to be, but I can tell you that that's going to happen. And then we're going to establish consistent reporting metrics for council. What I don't want to do is continue to issue these 25-page reports with a bunch of numbers on it that don't really tell you anything. And at the end of the day, you guys go outside and you drive home and you still see the same issue that you got called about. And those numbers aren't meaningful. And so what I want to bring you is meaningful numbers. So here's the solution. We will be establishing a coordinated cross-departmental effort to strengthen code compliance and animal control operations, because I see these as coming together. And actually, I think that there's so much that we can learn from Chief and her team, and she can really help us wrangle this whole effort. So a cross-functional team is a tool that I have used many, many times in the past. Mr. Lino's very, very familiar with it. So we're going to be implementing that here. Important is the participating departments. It will be led by myself out of the city manager's office. Having executive sponsorship of a team like this and an effort like this gives it fire and urgency, right? We will be working with the police department, with code compliance, permits and inspections, our legal support, municipal court, the fire marshal, and probably IT. I don't have IT listed here, but I had a conversation with Jesus just before the council meeting. I think that we're going to need technology in this space. Let's see, what does a cross-functional team do? It reviews how the work is currently moving across departments, and it's going to identify gaps, inconsistencies, and opportunities for improvement. I've done this at a very light touch, just me, and that's what you're seeing tonight. What we're going to do is convene in like the next week or so, and we're going to get all of us together, and we're going to unpack this thing. We're going to roll up our sleeves, and we're going to cover a wall in process, and we're going to map the workflow, align roles, responsibilities, and reporting practices, and we're going to develop a coordinated action plan. Okay, so here's where I'm going to be quiet for just a second. But I'd like to hear your input, but I'm going to challenge you a little bit to be specific with me. To help focus the work of this cross-functional team, I don't want us to just go in and just look at process and abstract. I would like to hear from you regarding your most pressing concerns related to code compliance. Your input is going to help us prioritize the issues that we need to address first. So my question to you that either you can answer me this evening, if you've got them off the top of your head, I think there's a couple of you that do have them on the top of your head. But if you don't, feel free to contact me after this meeting. What are your top 3 concerns related to code enforcement in our community? What you're seeing here is just a few examples. If you want to jog your minds just a little bit. Does it live in neighborhood conditions, which is things like junk vehicles or solid waste? Is it property maintenance, right? We have some very specific issues in terms of private property access, and I think the chief will support me on that one. There's some rules around what we can and cannot do there. Process concerns, is it really less the specific issue in code, and is it more, you know what, guys, I just need you to be more consistent and more responsive. Those kinds of things. So I'm going to be quiet and allow you all the opportunity, but I'm going to stop you at 3. What are your top 3?
I'll start with the first one.
Yes,
Junk
sir.
vehicles. Under the charter, there's a lot of verbiage in there, but it says our chief of police or his, which we need to update our charter to read his or her, duly authorized agent shall therefore dispose of junk motor vehicles in such manner as the city council may provide. Can you elaborate on that, chief? Are you the one responsible for disposing these, or do you have a duly authorized agent, if you're busy, to take over these junk vehicles?
So, Councilman Carrasco, with regards to the junk vehicles, I know in the past it probably has fallen on the police department to do that. I think with the incorporation of code enforcement as well, because it comes into the violations being issued. Now, if it's on a public roadway, police department definitely can get involved in that. When it's on like private property, like Ms. Farini was saying, there's the other steps that we have to go through to get that done. And I agree with you on some of these ordinances and charters. We definitely got to upgrade and do some changes on it, because there's a lot of antiquated stuff that's in these that I think if we could get it updated, put a little teeth in it, then it would help everybody involved in these issues. I don't know if that helped any or not, but
That was mine.
Well, and I will say that we do have, as part of this team, we will be coming back with recommendations for updates to the ordinance. And I understand that with regard to the charter, we are still a year or so out from being able to touch that. But it's not off, nothing is off the table in terms of the options that we have as we discuss these challenges. So thank you for that, sir. Yes, sir.
People performing mechanic work in their yards.
Yep.
The other one is, a lot of people rent their homes to oilfield people, and their property only allows for, if you look at it on a single family dwelling, 2 vehicles, 3 vehicles, and you put it in the road, in the street. But there's cars in the yards, doubled up, tripled up, and my biggest concern is, because we have a lady that comes down from Plum Street, just south of St. Catherine's, of her neighbors across the street. Loud, mechanicking, motorcycles, this and the other. And again, the complaint that this Olga brings up, the noise on, businesses.
Yep.
One of my biggest is they already kind of touched on it, but the other one is dilapidated structure. Oh, that house was my grandmother's. Nobody's lived in it for 20 years. They don't live here.
They didn't take care of it.
I have memories.
And not only that, it involves commercial buildings as well as residential.
Right.
That to me is besides a vehicle, because I hate the vehicles on the yards.
All right.
Got you?
This one's not going to, go ahead, Council.
Yes, sir.
It's hazmat trucks.
Hazmat trucks.
Yeah. And residential areas.
In residential areas. There's when the wind's blowing, they can smell it. The right direction.
Okay.
I can show you a few. I'll tell you addresses of a few.
I will welcome those.
For me, it's the priority areas. We have these
Yes.
frequently traveled corridors in our community that seem to look the worst most of the time. So I would like to see focus on priority areas and the consistency, for sure.
Consistency. Thank you.
I'll address the elephant in the room.
Please.
How many officers do we have? Code enforcement.
Currently, we have 3 officials and 1 officer, but she is on FMLA currently. So in the building right now, we don't have any.
But how many do we have total for the city of Pecos? Give or take.
3 officials and 1 officer.
So a total of 4 right now.
Yes.
When we say officials, are they talking about not code enforcement, or we're talking like police or somebody else?
No,
Officials mean that they haven't gone through their process and passed their test.
Correct.
To become a code officer.
Correct.
And
They can issue citations.
Correct.
so how long have they been not licensed, and how long have they been on the job?
You have to do 1 year under a licensed person in order to be able to take the test. And right now, we have all 3 of them coming upon that anniversary or just passing it.
Correct.
And I can tell you, one of them has taken the first piece of the test, and is going to have to retake it.
Correct.
I just don't want to make sure that a lot of these cases don't get dismissed in court because they're not licensed. And I don't want to see it as a waste of tax dollars,
Right.
because it's pointless for them to write citations and they're not even licensed.
So if I may, sir, I'd like to answer that question directly. We've had this conversation, not just with the chief, but I also had the conversation with the judge. While our code enforcement officials cannot issue a citation, if I go back to the process that I was talking about earlier, even if, though it's a little bit, it needs to be revised, there is an opportunity for them to leave the notice of violation, follow up with the certified letter, and when it comes time to issue an official citation, we have access to officers that we can do that. Now, I can't tell you that that's happening consistently right now, but what I can also tell you is that and Parker, you correct me here if I'm wrong, but they do not have to be dismissed at this point. We are actively working on those cases, and we are working in close concert with the judge and her staff to make sure that we're providing the information that is necessary for them to do what they need to do. So we're aware of that issue, and we're working towards that. And one of the big things that we're going to come back with is, like I mentioned earlier, training, testing, and certification in that order. We need to do that, and frankly, we need more than 1 officer, because if someone is ill or they're out on FMLA, we can't be without. And so we're doing the best we can right now, but we are well aware of that issue.
So does a police officer have the right to issue a citation on a code, on a violation of a code?
We do, as far as, because they are part of our ordinances, we do enforce city ordinances as well. So once code enforcement gets it, like she said, to this point where they need an officer to issue the citation, then we collaboratively come together on that. Officer gets all the documentation that the code officials have, citation is issued.
Until we get our people trained, certified, and we could use our police officers. I know they already got plenty, but especially when we start prioritizing if it's dangerous to the public or something, use one of our police officers would go and issue the citation right there and then.
So we've done that as far as electrical work being done without proper authorization and or permitting, some plumbing, we've done citations on both of those. So once code gets it kind of to that part, then that's where they contact the police department for the issue of the citation. I think in the past here, the fire marshal had been involved in some of that prior to me coming to the agency. And so he is a certified police officer as well. So I know that he has helped somehow with code in the past. I just don't know all the ins and outs of what he did in the past.
My second thing that bothers me is the weeds.
Yep.
Everywhere, especially in the like Councilman Trujillo said, in the entry points.
In the priority areas.
First thing people see coming in is weeds. Good God, they're everywhere. But still, some of those are the city responsibility, some is the property owner's responsibility, especially businesses. What is their deal? There's shopping carts out there in the middle of the of the highway, in the middle, in the parking lots.
Correct.
Not the parking lot where they belong, the parking lot
Right,
above it. And those are things that it just makes like we're neglecting. And as we're moving forward, and I know we're busy, everybody's busy, and as the town is in this growth spurt, we're gonna have growing pains. And those growing pains, we're gonna issue, just like when we went to this tournament. We've never handled a tournament like that, but we walked around and we saw things like, oh man, we can do this, and this. But those are plans for the future.
Correct.
And this is, right now, we're trying to get it before it actually explodes, because when it explodes, we better be ready, or we're gonna be way behind the 8 ball.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right, sir.
And I think we're on a good road now.
Did you have an additional item?
Does anybody else have any items? I have my last one.
Yeah, please.
Honestly, I mean, I felt like I referenced passing the buck. I had brought up a couple of council meetings about outsourcing code enforcement.
Correct.
I commend you, Nicole, for addressing this long overdue issue for the assertiveness. I mean, while it's understanding that our leadership communities become impatient with code enforcement, I mean, you just got here, and the council needs to understand that. And you're kind of taking the bull by the horns here. So you're inheriting a complex situation, and I know you need time to assess and address the issues at hand, but I feel like for so long this issue has been swept under the rug without finding innovative solutions. And as I mentioned a couple of council meetings, that, you know, I know it's not my role, but, you know, thinking outside the box is when we have problems, we can outsource problems without always just throwing in the towel and say, I give up, we don't have workers. But it's crucial to emphasize the importance of addressing this issue in our community, because it's kind of a decline of sense of pride, and that could be attributed back to the responsibility of the citizens from now on moving forward, that they need to take action and contribute to the well-being of this community. They need to do their part. And the era of passive acceptance and us just kind of slapping them on the wrist, honestly, that's long overdue. We're done with that. So I thank you, and I know you have a major task at hand, and we'll have to be patient. And just the fact that you've only been here 2 weeks to be able to provide this information, I know that we're going to start seeing some wins. So thank you for that.
Absolutely, sir. And I want to say thank you all for the privilege to be here. It truly is. And I think that, you know, the first step in addressing a problem is stating it out loud and in public. And I think that that's something that everybody on this team in this building is willing to do. And I'm standing here saying it, but they're all with me. And we're going to put that together. So we're going to take those items that you all mentioned. We are going to take that bull by the horns. And this is what we're going to do in the next couple of weeks. First, we're going to convene the cross-functional team as described. One that I failed to mention, I very much want to incorporate Pecos Proud into this. I think that starts to create a different facet to this. It's not so much compliance, but more pride in cleanup and community. And so very excited to be able to do that. The second step here, and this is where I'm going to put a deadline on us. We are going to return to council within 120 days with a tactical action plan and targeted metrics. What the heck does that mean? Okay, so the tactical action plan is not a strategy. It's not, you know, some aspirational, you know, ethereal language. The tactical action plan says, this is what we're going to change. These are the resources we need to change it, and this is the way we're going to measure that success. Following that, we will be implementing those operational improvements. We will recommend policy and/or ordinance updates as needed. Those are not going to come all at once. I think we're going to uncover things over time. You know, the charter was mentioned earlier. I don't know that we need to get into the charter, but if we do, we know what that timeline is. So we will be tracking that. And ultimately, we will be giving council a quarterly update on code compliance. You will no longer have to request it. We will be bringing it forward quarterly. And it is my intention that it will not be me giving it in the future. We want to train and empower our teams. And I'm hoping that a code compliance supervisor will be standing in my spot, giving you those quarterly updates. But we will have full confidence in that individual. And so that is the end of that presentation, and I want to thank Councilwoman Trujillo for bringing it forward, and thank you for your patience.
I want to thank you because I don't know if everybody knows, but I requested this to be put on the agenda
Yes.
on Friday, like by 4:45.
Yes, ma'am.
4:50. So
Yes,
for
ma'am.
Nicole to take this and give us more information in this presentation in one night, in 1 week, than what we've had for me in my entire tenure on council. I had no idea. We had no idea. We were kept in the dark, but thank you for bringing this and expressing the issues that we have and the challenges we have. That you're absolutely right. That's the first step of us moving forward and changing this entire process. So hats off to you.
Thank you.
Well done. Thank you.
In the same way, I applaud you.
Thank you.
Because one thing, we all had our concerns, but we're not the ones out there. We're not the workers. And what I would like to see is our workforce increase, and our workforce, I mean our workforce out there, not here. Because the work here is done, paper, the directions and all that, but out there, where the hands are out there, the feet are out there working, where people can see our young men and women actually doing something for our community. Because that's what brings a pride of people. And like Councilman Carrasco said, involving the community.
Yes.
Because it's up to them. That's their property, that's their stuff. But we need to learn how to be very cordial.
Yes.
We need to learn how to be very servant to those people, because they're the ones that take care of it. They voted for us to be here, and they pay the salary of you guys.
Yes.
So the way we step up is, and you and I talked about it, you win more people with love than you do with anything. I mean, you can be critical of anything. I'm very critical of things, but why not shut up and do it? Show. Sometimes we're going to have to step up and show.
Yes.
The chief, myself, and when we did that cleanup of Pecos, we were all in one area, picking shovels and holes and all that, and some other police officers over there helping us. But it involves everybody.
Yes.
Everybody. I know. Captain, not Captain Kelly. Captain Kelly was probably eating.
Well,
that's how we got to do it. But the other, Adrian.
Oh, Adrian.
Adrian was out there with his kids, his wife, his kids helping out. And that's what it shows. It shows us the pride that we need to have. This is a thriving community. Like it or not, it's a thriving community. And there's opportunities coming, and what we're seeing, everybody's seeing, but nobody wants to step up. And then you open that citation, those 4 programs, that's mind-boggling. I'm sitting there like, well, how do they track this thing? But to open it up the way you did, you impressed me Monday, how you did that presentation over there. And now here again, and I applaud you for it. And not taking nothing away from none of you guys, because I think, and I've told Charles this, I think you've got an awesome workforce here. We just need direction, because nobody has experienced Pecos in this state. Pecos has never boomed like it's doing now. And we're just seeing the beginning. And there's new people coming. And those new people will have little attitudes. It's all right now. Because they don't know what we have.
Or big attitudes.
Big attitudes.
So it's a growing up phase for us, for Pecos.
It is.
It absolutely is.
Any other questions on items?
I'd like
7 and
to
8?
thank Councilwoman Trujillo for putting this on the agenda.
Yes.
For bringing this to the attention, because sometimes I'm the one that catches a black eye, because, they say that you can catch more flies with honey. Well, they don't know our constituents. They don't want honey, they want vinegar now. And I say this respectfully to everybody here. When we come up here as council and we talk about these items, don't think we have nothing to do with our lives. That's what we were elected to do. But the loss of public trust, the key word, the loss of public trust and failure for us to act on council-directed items can lead to negativity towards public perception of the city's effectiveness. And when we're sitting here just talking and talking, the public's watching.
Yes.
So I don't want to chase our tails on this. Very good job, and thanks to you once again, Councilman, for putting this on the agenda.
Lastly,
Thank you, sir.
for the people watching, our taxpayers, whatever we pass here, we have to abide by it. So it's not something that we sit here and push on to people, and we get to not follow it. We have to follow it, and we are we have to be the example. So,
Okay.
thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you all very much.
We'll go on to.
I don't believe any action is required on this item,
No, it's a
Brian? Okay.
review. So we'll go on to item F10, discuss, consider the progress of the strategic plan and the status of the associated professional consulting agreement, strategic goal 6, sound governance and fiscal management. Mr. Cole, Ernie,
I'm gonna make sure I earn my salary tonight, huh?
you asked for it.
I'm kidding. Again, for the record, Nicole Farina, Assistant City Manager. This item is a strategic plan planning process progress update, as well as discussion around the consulting agreement that has been raised. I think it was raised at the last council meeting. The difference is that this item has been raised for discussion and consideration. Okay, so I just want to make that clear as we start out. But I wanted to, here we go, discuss, consider the progress of the strategic plan and the status of the associated professional consulting agreement. The objectives of this presentation this evening, number one, we want to provide a high-level update on the implementation of the City of Pecos strategic plan. I'm not talking about trying to give you a laundry list of results. That's an update that you get regularly. This is more about the process itself and where we are in that process as far as implementation goes. Number two, we want to demonstrate new internal tracking and accountability tools. I've been very excited. I've been working on a dashboard for the strategic plan for several weeks now. It is not fully ready to go public, but it is something I'm prepared to show you tonight a demonstration of. Number three, to discuss the value of the professional consulting agreement that has been supporting and advancing this work that we've been talking about. And number four, I want to introduce an upcoming strategic plan refresh, the process and the schedule for that. This is goal 6, sound governance and fiscal management. I do want to point out that almost everything that we've done tonight, particularly the presentation I just did, yes, that was visual image, yes, that was safe and secure city, but more than anything, I think you'll see that it was goal 6. It's sound governance and fiscal management. It's about how we operate. Goal 6 is really about how you build a high-performing machine in the organization that is the City of Pecos so that we can achieve all the other things that we want to do. And that's really what this is about. And that's what the strategic plan does and is continuing to do. A strategic plan establishes clear long-term priorities. It aligns budgets, capital investments, and daily operations around those goals. One of the big, I think, failings that you see in cities across the nation is, especially when they're experiencing a boom, especially when they are flush with resources, they start hurling those resources unstrategically. And that does not position you well for the times when there is not a boom. And that's something that I think I've seen in the strategic plan and I've heard discussed not only here internally at City Hall, but also with you all, is that we're really keeping our eye on the long ball. We want to make sure that Pecos not only is prosperous, but stays prosperous into the future. A strategic plan also defines measurable objectives that we can track over time and report transparently. This is something I want to step it up a notch with the dashboard I'm going to show you today. But most importantly, it's important to understand that the strategic plan is not a static document. If you write a plan and you put it on the shelf, it's not worth the paper it's written on. This plan is not that. This is a living document that continues to evolve, not necessarily from your goal standpoint, which I'm going to get into a little bit later, but it does evolve in terms of the execution of that plan. The budgets are going to fluctuate, the actions are going to fluctuate, etc. But it does require periodic review so that we can keep the organization fresh, focused, and accountable. Here's a quick timeline just to refresh everyone about where we've been with the strategic plan. In 2024, you initiated the strategic planning process with support. There was an organizational assessment and leadership alignment done. That was also done through a professional consulting agreement. 2024, 2025, so this would be the end of 2024 and the beginning of 2025. You adopted the strategic plan. You organized the citywide initiatives into the citywide pillars into goals and objectives, right? So you got a little more granular with it. And initial implementation began. Now I want to stop here for just a second. Early 2025. That's 1 year from where we are right now. That is not a long time to start to see the effects of a long-term plan. Okay, so implementation has already started to take effect, and I'm going to bring up some examples here in a moment, but initial implementation began 1 year ago. That you're making tremendous progress in light of that time frame. 2025 and 2026, so end of last year and up to now, there has been additional development of tracking tools. Goal teams and internal accountability structures have already been established. You have your goal teams, you have your goal team leads. We're going to be taking a look at that in the coming weeks to make sure that that still makes sense. You've also started to integrate the strategic plan into your operational planning. And this is a simple thing, but it is enormous. The fact that you're integrating into every single city council decision, you're attaching that to a strategic goal. That's more than just words on a piece of paper. You are tracking your progress and your investment and your leadership as a function of that plan. And now, basically today, we are looking at the future in a strategic plan refresh. So we're going to be coming back and taking a look at, what do we need to revise? What have we already executed and can be, put to bed, checked off the list? And what do we need to add new in its place? This is very, very important. We want to align this refresh process with the upcoming fiscal year budget planning and the upcoming state legislative session. Why is that important? What are you talking about, Nicole? These are different things. No, if we understand who we are as an organization, what our assets and resources are, and we understand those strategies, those should then ultimately guide and inform our budget as well as our legislative agenda. So when we go in to speak to a senator or a representative or whatever it is, we know exactly what we're talking about, what we're trying to measure, and what we need from them to get it done. And that's why this refresh is so important right now. I'm going to try to go quickly because I recognize what time it is. I need another monster, I think. Over the past 2 years, you've been working across all 8 strategic goals so you can move those priorities from the planning stage to implementation, and that's happening. Departments have begun aligning those initiatives and projects. I want to go through the 8 pillars just very, very quickly here, and I'm going to try to pull out from memory some of the things that I know already exemplify progress in this plan. Goal 1, sustainable economic development. The first objective that you have listed, that you all did this is something I read, was to reestablish the TERS. Well, you have done that, and you have advanced the TERS in spades in a number of different actions that this council has taken. That is one example of a tangible result from Goal 1. Goal 2, safe and secure city. I think that the work that the chief is doing absolutely exemplifies that. Some of the grants that she's been awarded, some of the advancements in support of the officers that she's been able to bring in, those are in spades examples of safe and secure city. I think in promote the visual image of Pecos, this is a place where we still have a long way to go, but what has taken place is a lot of planning. I know that we attach it to Goal 4, enhance quality of life, but let's think about Bessie Haynes for a second. What we're doing at Bessie Haynes is going to touch probably 5 of these goals. And that's one of the things that we're going to do when we refresh this plan, is I'm going to start to show you all how when you do something in Goal 1, you're probably going to have an impact in 5 other places. But it's our job to articulate that to you so that when you're talking to constituents about why are we doing this, and why just go fill my pothole, or go fill that gopher hole or whatever that is. We are going to do those things, but we also need to be able to articulate to our constituency why these things are important and why the investments we're making to support it also are justified. Very quickly, just a deep dive on some language. What you're seeing here, and I know you can't read that. I know it's tiny. This is what the dashboard looks like. This is all 8 goals and all of the objectives that are underneath them. And just a little bit of strategy nerd talk. Pillars are those foundational priorities, right? You guys know the 8 goals. You say them all the time. Those are the things that do not change. We won't be refreshing those. That's who you said you wanted to be. That's the foundation. I studied architecture in school, and so when I talk about pillars and foundations, I'm talking about things that are immovable, right? They represent the core areas where we're determined to sustain our focus. The objectives, which are all those other things that happen underneath those pillars or goals, those are specific focus areas, right? But they're not actions. Actions are, what are we doing? And this is what's really important, not just to you all, but frankly to the staff. One of the things that's very important in a strategic plan is, take the code enforcement team that I just finished talking about. You know what? They may not get involved at the goal level, but you know what they are going to get involved in? The tactical actions that are going to make that work. And it is my job as a leader to make sure that they have that tactical direction. And we're going to start doing that. You're going to see that even more when we do this refresh. Deliverables. This is really important because everybody says, well, you have a strategic plan, but what's the what? Well, the deliverables are the what. They are the tangible things that you can hold in your hand and say, this is the deliverable. But the deliverable is different from the outcome. The outcome is the vision, the change you want to see, right? So I might have a deliverable that is a revised ordinance for code compliance that allows us to more efficiently pick up junk vehicles. That's an example, okay? I don't know that that's going to be it, but that's an example. That's the deliverable. The outcome is that we've improved the visual image and we no longer have junk vehicles in our priority visual corridors. That's an outcome. Okay? Now, how do we measure it? 2 ways, key performance indicators and metrics. Think of it this way. When you're driving from, say, Pecos to El Paso, okay? You know what your destination is. You know where you're going. But there's mile markers along the way, right? KPIs are those mile markers, right? They're telling you that you're going in the right direction. If all you're looking at is that I'm going to El Paso, but I'm not paying attention on the way, I could look up one day and realize that I'm in Dallas and I've gone the wrong direction. The KPIs, that's right, I took the wrong exit. KPIs are going to keep us on track, and so we're going to start to report out on those in a little bit different way. But once we get to that metric, that's the destination, right? That's when we say this metric says that that outcome we identified has been achieved. And so really excited about that. Here, this is really a summary of how everything that I've just talked about has been supported and continues to be supported by our professional consultant. I will say that in my background, I have worked with cities around the world. In my role, when I was with the city of El Paso, I was part of a network called 100 Resilient Cities. This was 100 cities around the entire planet, convened by the Rockefeller Foundation, and we got together quarterly to discuss our challenges. In all those 100 cities, whether it was New York or New Orleans, or it was a small town in West Texas, any city that is in a period of growth and organizational change often, if not always, brings on management consulting. This is not in place of your leadership, and it doesn't mean that your leadership isn't doing what they need to be doing, but what it means is that we're in the trenches every single day, and that support helps us access networks, resources, best practices that help us get us to implementation all that much faster. And that is exactly what has been happening over the course of the last year or so. Actually, I think it might be 2 years, last 2 years. And so we're anxious to be able to continue to leverage that as we move into this new phase of our strategic plan. Here's the schedule for the refresh. Today, I'm introducing to you this process update and the dashboard itself. You saw a little bit of that. In the end of March and early April, which means in the next several weeks, I'm going to be meeting with internal staff to coordinate all these potential updates. I need to sit with everybody and see where we're at. Kind of what we're talking about with code right now, I need to do that everywhere, right? In context of the strategic plan. At that point, we're going to refresh our metrics and our KPIs. We're going to make sure that they still make sense. We're going to make sure we didn't get off on the wrong exit already. And if we did, we're going to get back on track. And then we're going to refresh those goal teams, as I mentioned. In late April is when we owe you your FY26 mid-year strategic plan update. You've seen those before. I believe Griffin does those, and they are quite long. They're goals 1 through 8, right? There's Griffin, there it is. And so at that point, you're going to get that same update that you had, right? Refreshed. But that's a great pivot point, because then in mid-May and early June, we would like to convene you all for a special session, a council workshop where we will get your feedback on the strategic plan refresh. But at that point, we'll have already done a lot of legwork. So we're not going to be coming in just like, what would you like, sir? Right? We're going to be giving you feedback and you're going to give us feedback. Again, in alignment with that budget planning and legislative session. So, I apologize. This is what happens when you do the presentation too quickly. That action at the top is not correct. It is from the last item, so please strike that. But our next steps are correct. We're going to meet with department heads and staff for current status of the plan and feedback. We will return to council at the end of April for a full strategic plan update. We will schedule and host a council strategic planning refresh workshop, and we will then launch the refresh plan with quarterly reports, including the new metrics, trends, and deliverables. And that is the last thing I have, I promise.
Thank you. Thank you for putting this in better perspective.
Yes, sir.
When I think of this, I think of an old quote I remember. It says, if you're the smartest one in the room, you're in the wrong room. And it's common for us to surround ourselves with more intelligent and skilled people for personal growth that are going to support the mission. But one thing, I'll be honest, in the community, they don't understand this.
Yeah.
They really don't. All they understand is a newspaper article and social media backlash. And the first thing they want to do is they want to blame us. And when I think of that, everybody in this table here right now I support, and I will always have their back regardless of differences or not. But whenever a councilwoman or a councilman makes a decision, it's not because they want to reach for a rope to get out of the hole. We're not reaching for a rope to hang ourselves. And in the community, like, well, why did you hire this or why did you hire this? I know they want to see action, which they do. And one of my biggest concerns is the last time, this is what I've always believed in, it's what's made my business very successful, is being boots on the ground. And that's what concerns me. And I'm not calling anybody out here, but we need to make sure that our whole staff once in a while gets out in the field and puts these new vehicles that we approved to use and be out there understanding and canvassing the north, the east, the south, and the west to see out there what's really going on. And that's why our citizens are, in my opinion, giving us a hard time, because they don't see results and they see it as us just spending more money. And it's not because somebody took the initiative to make a motion or, hey, they took a chance on digging this community out of a hole. Like I said, it wasn't to hang themselves with a rope. It was to get them out of that hole. So I support everybody's decision when it came as a consultant. And I think without action and us implementing this plan, it's pointless, like you said, putting it on the shelf.
Correct. Correct, sir.
Well, I'll still go back to Tommy and Tom, that we got you. We don't need him now. I mean, she can do what he's doing. And so, I would like to stop, his consulting and save the taxpayers $9,500 a month. And so I think we've got the staff to do it.
And if I may, sir, thank you. I'm flattered. I will say that I am excited to hit the ground, and the consulting, in my humble opinion, is not about doing what I can do or what he can do, but rather the ability to reach out across networks and bring in resources. I will also mention, and correct me if I'm wrong, team, the agreement expires at the end of April. And so I would respectfully request that we allow that to come to fruition before we make a decision. That is not my place to tell you what to do. That's simply a recommendation from my seat. But I appreciate you, sir, for making that comment.
You've got a lot of initiative. I know, too, from experience in the business world, that you get too many chiefs. You don't get anything done.
Yes, sir.
That is true, sir.
So I'd like to see one person head up this. And so I don't see the need for Tommy anymore today. So I don't know what the rest of the council wants to do, but.
Only you guys know, y'all work 40 hours a week, we only come here twice a month. So I can't sit here and judge and say you don't need him if I don't know what implementation.
40 hours?
Not this week, sir.
I'm confident that we are headed in the right direction, and I don't see an issue with us continuing our agreement with Tommy for another month till April, till that agreement expires, if it's giving you the resources to give us these goals and put them as tangible things that we can see and the growth, and it's given the staff so many resources and confidence to take us forward. Another month or two is, it's worth it.
I just can't see what he can add to what I saw tonight.
He's been giving the guidelines to be able to integrate
Right, he got it
that
started.
into.
You know, it's, but,
But if we hit a wall, it'd be nice to have somebody to consult with.
until we hit that wall though. I
I'm
don't think.
I'm just saying, I'm not saying extend the contract, but as needed, maybe, as a need.
There's other people out there too.
And what I will say to your comment, I believe part of his work over the last several months has been to bring folks in that can assist Pecos in going forward. And I don't think Mr. Lino will object when I say that I'm standing in this room today because I was asked to through part of that service. Now, I would not have been here if it had not been for Mr. Lino and the team and my newly found love of Pecos. But I have to give Mr. Gonzalez credit for picking up that phone with his network that included me. So I'm not trying to sway you. I want to be clear about why I'm standing here and how that happened. And so, just some additional information, sir. That's all.
This is a discuss and consider, so what are we considering?
Ending the agreement. Ending the agreement or continuing the agreement, which could, I guess it would be an option to end it early or continue, so
That
go
was
either
the
way.
estimate, it was done that way.
That's right.
I'll make a motion that we just extend, not extend, but just let the contract run its course.
I'll second.
I think you don't need a motion for that.
Sir?
Just take no action and that happens
Oh,
anyway.
Okay.
That's true. That would happen automatically,
All right.
sure.
So if we had to ask you guys, the leadership team, what do you need? How much longer do you need to get this ball rolling, especially with the new assistant city manager in place?
We need at least March and April, and possibly 2 more months. So and I think what we would do, this is my recommendation. I appreciate y'all looking at taking no action here, but I think if we don't feel that we're at a point where we need to be at the end of April, we're obligated for this team to come back and tell you why, and give you some type of horizon and say,
That's right.
I need it for another month for this purpose. Right now, I can't give you that answer. I hope that you all see, and why I was excited to bring Nicole here. She and I worked together for 5 years. We know each other well. I know what her skill set is. We complement each other in a lot of different areas. And her energy that you see is the same energy she had in El Paso. And Tommy facilitated this arrangement happening. Nicole told me if it wasn't for Tommy and me being here, she wouldn't be here.
So we're stuck up
But I guess,
monsters?
I've always believed in accountability.
Yes, sir.
I have no idea how much time Tommy spends over here. For $9,500, he should be staying a week and a half
Yes, sir.
over here. What he gave us the other day is just nothing.
Understood. I think the value that we've got over the last 2 months is much more some of the introductions that I've had to staff, because I've voiced to you that, you all know kind of, or have an idea what my schedule has been, and know where we're at. And you've told me we need to figure out a solution, okay? My solution right now is to get Nicole here. Because some of the stuff that she and I are talking about, some of this, we've had these conversations. That's why you're getting this information you're getting. But these are the things that, because we're going 10,000 things, she and I have had this conversation. She says, I don't know how you could have been shouldering this. And all I think it's going to do is to show you what we can become by having the right staff.
I think she knows the stuff very well.
Correct.
Randy, it's the same stuff that I know, but I don't have time to do
But
that.
it's kind of like, you turned on the water faucet.
I did.
Fire hose.
Fire hydrant.
I did, sir.
Yeah.
And so, like
I
that.
tend to do that.
And So the impression I got tonight is that you know your stuff. And I
Yes,
think
sir.
you can go and see and put it together and get it going and monitor it and make, accountability stuff. I think you can do all that, with help. You can't do it all by yourself.
No.
You got to delegate some of it.
Yes.
So I feel, from my perspective,
Yes, sir.
I've not seen Tommy.
Yes, sir. Understood. Yes, sir. And I understand, accountant to accountant, Randy, I understand what you're saying there.
And so, with the letter he sent out, he didn't give specific examples, no measurements.
I've had those, and I have had that conversation, and Griffin has had that conversation and voiced the displeasure with the last report. We have done that.
So I don't see any need to carry him on any further.
So no action taken?
No way.
Unless there's a
Sure.
motion.
I would like to get on the record, though. I would like to make a motion to go ahead and get rid of Tommy. I'll make a motion.
Okay. We have a motion on the table by Councilman Graham to terminate at now or at the end of April?
No.
Now?
At the end of,
April, when the contract expires?
Mhm.
Okay, so I have a motion by Councilman Graham to not extend the contract for Mr. Gonzalez at the end of the contract, which is in April. Do I have a second? With no second, the motion dies.
I am on the record.
Yes, you're on the record.
I want to thank you all so much for the privilege to stand here tonight.
Thank you. And we'll get egg in our face, so thank you.
Yeah, I can't decide for April until I get to April.
Yeah.
Agree to
Okay, at this time, we'll go into executive. We do have executive session. I don't want to.
It just seems wrong to do that.
Bernard, did you announce the time?
Yes, sir, it is, time is 8:51. We'll go into executive session pursuant to Texas Government Code 51.071, 55.1.072, 55.1.074, and 55.1.087. The meeting at 8:51. This time is 9:08, and we're back from executive session. Anything to come before the council?
Sure.
Nothing? We have all the items were discussed and considered. If there's any items for next city, what is our next meeting?
March 26th.
26? Any items for the next meeting? We had something. Two things.
I emailed them to Wendy already.
Okay. All righty. Any other items be considered or be brought up? If not, meeting is adjourned. Thank you. 9:08.